Hey everyone, how are y'all? Cheryl, how are you? Hey Justine. Tree Baby, how are you? Hey Greg. Hey Werewolf Queen and Emerald Queen, how are y'all? Cool Gamer, hey, how are you? Hey Crime Sleuthin, how are you? Hey Michelle. Musical, how are you? Hey, yes, it's me. Hey Vapor, how are you? Stone Gator, how are you tonight? Let's see. Hey Sybil. And Sybil, all those emails that y'all have sent, I'm gonna get caught up on those tonight. Let's see, Mom's home from the hospital. Oh, Stone Gator, that's awesome news. Hey, Linda. Did you see where Banfield is going to be on News Nation tonight at 10 o'clock? Not sure how true, though. Linda, do you know what time zone that is? Is that 10 Eastern or what? Hey, Molly. Marissa, how are you? Sorry. Okay, that's fine, Linda. I'll I'll have to look it up and see. What, Widow Baby? How are you? Hey, Brad. How are you? Checking one thing out real quick. Oh my gosh, so it's been raining here all day and it's got my internet going like super slow. Marissa Sybil is crime crazy. Okay. All right, one second. I'm trying to get all my chat and stuff pulled up here. It's taking so dang long. YouTube's update can only see posts now on community tab. Oh. Yeah, Greg, YouTube did an update of about 2 weeks ago, and I don't like how they changed things around. You're welcome, Marissa. Yeah, I think Musical, she changed her name last night. I believe it was. Hey, Ray, how are you? Bryan, how are you? Hey, Yorkie Mama. Hey, American Princess. And Mar, I saw your comments that you put at the top of the chat earlier, and I was gonna answer you back, but you wasn't in here. But you don't have to worry about your ranch, honey. It'll be fine. Simple Butterfly, how are you? Molly, I've a lot of times if people don't get notifications, they usually have to like turn the bell off and then cut it back on, and usually that helps. Hey, Brian R, how are you? Yeah, Mar, you don't have to worry about it. You'll be fine. And yeah, I'm doing good. Allison, how are you? Hey, Stevie, how are you? Hey, Gregory, how are you? Okay, Stonegator, no problem. Brown Bear, how are you? Yeah, Gregory, I'm doing good, thank you. All right, y'all, let me grab this first thing because uh, they did put the new documents on the website today. Lisa Marie, how are you? As a former computer programmer, sometimes we throw changes in with an update. Well, Lisa Marie, they changed up like if you put your chat on top chat or live chat on the mobile part of it. I don't like it. I get rid of my headache now. Pressure, getting back in air for. Well, Brian, or at least you don't have a headache anymore. Hold on one second. I gotta grab something for Troll, y'all. Okay. Hey, William, how are you? Let's see. Ultrasound was good. Just waiting for the CT. Well, Cheryl, that's good news. But hopefully the CT scan results they'll come back good as well. Brian, it's been like that here too, and it started raining around noon today, and it's been raining ever since. It's supposed to rain all the way till 11 o'clock in the morning. All right, y'all. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this document up because they did put them on the website today. And because it's been raining so much, I'm more than likely my internet's going to be a little bit slow tonight. So I do apologize for that as well. Paperwork should be coming soon. Uh, Bryan, I said last night what day it was supposed to be unsealed. Hey, Jan, how are you? I'll have to go back on the email that was sent to me to get the date, but I believe it was February the 27th, I think, or the 28th that is supposed to be undone. Okay, so the 27th. Thank you, White Little Baby. So February the 27th, it should be unsealed. Wait, what the heck is back here? Oh my gosh. What am I doing? Okay. Trying to get this size where y'all can see it as well. Casey, how are you? Okay, can y'all see the writing okay? Okay, thank you, Stone Gator. All right. All right, Mar, we love you too, honey. I hope you get to feeling better. Okay, good. Y'all can see it. All right, so it just says in the District Court of the 2nd Judicial District of the State of Idaho in and for the County of Latah. Okay, and this is an affidavit of the Latah County Prosecutor William W. Thompson, Jr. So it says, I, William W. Thompson, Jr., duly sworn, I do hereby state the following information is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and belief. I am the elected prosecutor for Latah County and have served in that position for approximately 30 years. You've been in there for a while, y'all. Okay, and in that role, I am one of the attorneys representing the state in the above titled manner. The members of the Gonzalez family who are represented by Mr. Shannon Gray are potential witnesses in this case, including at trial and or sentencing. Casey, the website for the state of Idaho was updated earlier today, and this was put on there. There was a memorandum that was put on there, and then there is something from the Bryan Kohberger's litigation attorney that is on there. Okay, and it was just signed and subscribed and sworn in on the 7th of February. It was signed by the notary, delivered to Ann Taylor and to Shannon Gray. Hey, King Scarlet, how are you? All right, and it's just, this one here is just 2 pages, his affidavit. So let me go grab now the memorandum is like 10 pages long, and it's mostly telling about different cases, basically referencing different cases. I'm not reading through all of them. No, Cheryl, he has Ann Taylor as his public defender, and then he has another guy that is his the litigation attorney. Okay, I'm gonna pull this one up, but I'm not reading all these. Like I said, it's just a bunch of different cases that they're referencing to. And I'm gonna zoom in on it where y'all can see it. Okay. And you can just see right here, it just says the memorandum appoints and authorities relating to the non-dissemination order. All right, let's see. And it just says on the first page, to aid the court in review of the motion submitted by Mr. Gray to appeal, amend, and or clarify amended non-dissemination order, the state provides this memorandum appoints and authorities. The state's interest relating to this order is to ensure that the defendant and the state are provided a fair and impartial jury trial, and that the integrity of any conviction is maintained, for it is the duty of the prosecutor as a public officer to see that the accused has a fair and impartial trial. And it's talking about State versus Spencer, 74 Idaho, 173, 183, and 1953. And then it says below are the points, cases, and statements made in the case that the state located to aid this court. And these points are largely presented in block quote and without commentary by the state. So, like I said, it's basically, this is a table of contents, and all it is on every page is talking about all these different cases. Hey, Valerie, how are you? So, like I said, I'm not reading through all of those. But I do believe that there was, let me go down real quick, y'all, on the last page. Like I said, this is like 10 pages. Okay. No. Okay, so there's nothing on this one just about the cases, but it does show that it was sent to Shannon Gray and to Ann Taylor. All right. Now let me go grab this other one. Okay. And this one is from the litigation attorney. Hey, Doug, how are you? Okay. Yeah, my allergies and sinuses are just so horrible. I hate this time of year. All right, let me get it zoomed in here. Everyone can see it. Hey, Jessica Lynn, how are you? All right, and y'all can see this is from Ann Taylor's office up here at the top. And it says the assigned attorneys is Ann Taylor, the public defender, and then J. Weston Logsden is the chief deputy litigation. And this is who did this. And it's the objection to motion to appeal, amend, and or clarify the non-dissemination order. And Jerry, how are you? Okay. All right, so this one's like 9 pages long. I'm going to try to get through it as quick as I can. Hey, Kelly, how are you? All right, so it says, come now, Bryan C. Kohberger, by and through their attorneys, J. Weston Logsden, Chief Deputy Litigation, and hereby objects to the motion to appeal, amend, and or clarify non-dissemination order filed by Shannon Gray as counsel for the Gonzalez family. This objection is made on the grounds that the non-dissemination order properly requires Mr. Gray to abide by the clear requirement of the ethical rules of this state. And yes, Doug, I'm doing good, thank you. Okay, so this is his argument. He said the court's order is not violative of Mr. Gray's First Amendment rights. In his memorandum in support of the motion for appeal and/or clarification of amended non-dissemination order, and it says hereafter memorandum, Mr. Gray contends that because his clients, the Gonzalez family, are classified as non-party citizens, application of the court's non-dissemination order to him constitutes a prior restraint on his right to free speech under the First Amendment. In support of his position, Mr. Gray cites the Fair Trial and Public Disclosure provision of the ABA Standard for Criminal Justice, IRPC 3.6, as well as the precedent established under Shepard v. Maxwell 384 U.S. 333 in 1966, and the Nebraska Press Association versus Stewart 427 U.S. 539 1976. And then Gentile versus State Bar of Nevada 501 U.S. 1030 1991. Now, the issue at hand may be summarized as follows, and whether application of a non-dissemination order to an attorney representing the family of an alleged murder victim constitutes an intolerable prior restraint on speech. Laughingstock, how are you? And Bryan, I've noticed that ever since they updated it, like there's been a lot of stuff come out. Whether it's true or not, we don't know, but it seems like a lot of stuff has came out. All right, so the First Amendment prohibits law abridging the freedom of speech, while the Sixth guarantees to the criminal defendant the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury. The U.S. Constitution, Amendment 1 and 4, occasionally in conflict, where protected pretrial expression threatens the impartiality of the jury. The United States Supreme Court has determined certain parties' First Amendment rights may be limited when exercise of those rights would result in prejudice to the defending, noting with his life at stake. It is not requiring too much that the defendant be tried in an atmosphere undisturbed by so huge a wave of public passion. Sifa, how are you? So this is Shepard 384 U.S. at 351, quoting Irvin versus Dowd 266 U.S. 717, 728, 1961. So as a means of reducing the appearance of prejudicial material and to protect the jury from outside influence, a trial court may prescribe extrajudicial statements by any lawyer, party, witness, or court official, and may also promulgate a regulation with respect to dissemination of information about the case. This is Shepard 384 U.S. at 358 through 62. So in either case, the cure lies in those remedial measures that will prevent the prejudice at its inception. And it's Idaho 384 U.S. at 363. So one such measure is at issue here. As in Stewart, this court is presented with a confrontation between prior restraint imposed to protect one vital constitutional guarantee and the explicit command of another that the freedom to speak shall not be abridged. Stewart 427 U.S. 570. Unlike in Stewart, however, the regulation at issue is as to an attorney who may be subjected to greater limitations than could be imposed on the press, as the Supreme Court noted in Shepard. So the courts must take such steps by rule and regulation that will protect their processes from prejudicial outside interferences. Neither prosecutors, counsel for the defense, the accused, witnesses, court staff, nor enforcement officers coming under the jurisdiction of the court should be permitted to frustrate its function. Collaboration between counsel and the press as to the information affecting the fairness of the criminal trial is not only subject to regulation, but is highly censurable and worthy of disciplinary measures. Y'all, my sinuses are just irritating the crap out of me tonight. Hey, Tonka, how are you? So, the speech of the lawyers representing clients in pending cases may be regulated under less demanding standard than that established for regulation of a press in Stewart. In the cases which preceded it, lawyers representing clients in pending cases are key participants in the criminal justice system, and the state may demand some adherence to the precepts of that system in regulating their speech as well as their conduct. Tonka, I'm doing good, thank you. And Stonegator, yeah, I've done taken my allergy medicine twice today, and it hasn't helped. Let's see. I'm not sure if LC has been. The show aired in UK today about the Nicola Bully case that had an exclusive and fairly long interview with the husband. It was very interesting. Oh, Casey, I'll have to check that out. All right. So it says in Gentile 501 U.S. at 1074, in an attempt to exclude himself from the holdings, Mr. Gray argues that because his clients are not parties to the case and therefore not subject to the order, and it says to see the memorandum, page 36 through 8, he too is due in equal measure a difference in the exclusion. The weight of authority is contrary to this position. And basically, they think he needs to stay under the gag order uh, because he can get information about the case. So in the Idaho State Bar versus TAP 129, Idaho 414, 925, page 2D, 1113, 1996, the Idaho Supreme Court made clear that courts must strike a reasonable balance between the right of free speech and the state's legitimate interest in preserving the integrity of the judicial system. TAP 129, Idaho at 417, 925, P.2D at 1116, and reaching the conclusion the TAP court relied upon the Gentile decision, which, in the court's words, balanced the state's interest in assuring fair trials against the free speech interests of attorneys. Thus, a case associated speaker's status as a lawyer alters the degree to which their speech is protected. See, I have an issue with the gag order preventing families' attorneys from speaking because it also stops families from speaking since they've had him with them during interviews. Now they can't. Right, crime sleuthing. And that's, I believe, the main reason why he was wanting to be out from under it. Um, and I do remember him saying that, like, uh, in his thing that he filed a week or so ago, challenging the gag order, that they won't even speak because they're in fear of contempt of court. Okay. Channel 5 in the UK. Okay, thank you for that information, Casey. I'll have to check that out. So then it says that this lawyer versus non lawyer distinction is recognized broadly elsewhere, even in cases where the speaker attorney claims not to be involved in the case in question. In Re Good 821 F.3D 553, 5th Circuit 2016, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals considered whether an attorney who routinely communicated with and occasionally passed notes to the defense could be sanctioned for violation of a non-dissemination order and the Louisiana criminal trial publicity rule because he was not a lawyer associated with the defense or a trial participant. Application to whom Good argued the local rule was limited. Good 821 F.3D at 557, rejecting Good's argument, the court relied upon Gentile's own language that because associated lawyers have special access to information through discovery and client communications, the extrajudicial statements pose a threat to the fairness in the pending proceedings since lawyers' statements are likely to be received as especially authoritative. So Idaho 821 F.3D at 560, quoting Gentile 501 U.S. at 1074, similar holdings have been reached across the circuit courts. And it's just saying to see the Mezabal versus Allen. It's some other cases that they're putting in here in reference to. Jen, how are you? Prosecutor says Gonzalez's family may be called as a witness and therefore recommend the gag order remain in place as is. Yes. So I wonder what they're going to be a witness to, though. Okay, and then it just says down here, further, the 11th and 2nd Circuits have interpreted the heavy presumption against constitutionality described in Stewart as being unique to prior restraints directed to the press, and suggested that the Supreme Court Shepard holdings suggesting a restrictive order limiting extrajudicial commentary of trial participants as an alternative to a prior restraint on the media. And this is for News Journal Corporation versus Foxman 939 F.2F 1499 1512 through 13. And then it says it's another case. And it's lawyers representing clients in pending cases may be regulated under less demanding standard than the established for regulation of the press. As in Good, Mr. Gray has special access to information via his client. Dissemination of information forbidden by the court's order would be deemed authoritative as a result of this access and Mr. Gray's status as an attorney, and therefore would endanger the jury's impartiality. The court's exemption of Mr. Gray's clients from its order effectively answers Mr. Gray's First Amendment concerns, while its continued application to him accounts for his apparent authority and special access to facts. Has anyone heard Ethan's family actually? Bryan Hoffman, has anyone heard Ethan's family actually talking about Dylan? The only thing that I've seen them say is just the thing that was put out by the lady who said that she was Ethan's sister-in-law. Tammy C., how are you? Okay. All right. So Dennis' second part of his argument is the IRPC 3.6 is not factually vague, nor vague as applied to Mr. Gray's circumstances. Pressure Drop, how are you? Hey, Miss Honeypenny, how are you? So it says first, the IRPC 3.6 is in no way vague on its face. Mr. Gray's argument on this point is premised on the faculty understanding and misreading of the Gentile holdings. In Gentile, the Supreme Court expressly stated, we are not called upon to determine the constitutionality of the ABA Model Rule 3.6, 1981, but only Rule 117, as it has been interpreted and applied by the state of Nevada. Okay, hold on. I need to scroll up a little bit on this. Oh, shoot. So Gentile 501, U.S. at 1036, emphasis added. Moreover, the Supreme Court held nothing inherent in Nevada's formulation of Phil's First Amendment review, but as the case demonstrates, Rule 117 has not been interpreted in conformance with those principles by the Nevada Supreme Court. And I'm not sure why it's like super blurry right there for some reason. So the Idaho 501 U.S. at 1037, Mr. Gray's assertion that the Gentile court holding that the wording of Rules 3.6 and 3.8 was unconstitutionally vague is simply wrong, because Gentile only found that Nevada's rule was unconstitutional as applied. That decision does not mandate, excuse me, does not mandate a similar finding when evaluating the IRPC 3.6. To the contrary, the Supreme Court's express finding that nothing inherent in the Nevada rule failed First Amendment review indicates that the same conclusion is appropriate with regard to the IRPC 3.6, which Mr. Gray himself states is similar in wording to the ABA Rule 3.6. So Mr. Gray's argument that the IRPC 3.6 is unconstitutionally vague as applied to his own circumstances is also faulty. In Gentile, the Supreme Court found that one central point must dominate the analysis. The case involves political speech. At issue here is the constitutionality of a ban on political speech critical to the government and its officials. While it is true that Mr. Gray and the Gonzalez family have criticized the police in the matter in the past, since Mr. Kohberger's arrest, their statements have been focused on him. And then they include the King 5 article. So it says, see, King 5, father of Idaho murder victim, says Kohberger was overwhelmed in court. It was done January the 6th of 2023, and they even posted the link to it. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I went over that. So additionally at issue in Gentile was the confusion created by the safe harbor exception for statements by the defense about their defense. Idaho at 1048. Mr. Gray has essentially agreed that his client is not a real party to the actions and has nothing similar to a defendant's interest in the sharing their defense with the press. And thus, the vagueness found in Gentile is in opposite to his concerns. So as an attorney, Mr. Gray cannot claim vicarious exemption from the rules of professional conduct and therefore bound by the IRPC 3.6. So it says, finally, Mr. Gray asserts that he is allowed to relay to the media any of the opinions, views, or statements of those family members regarding any part of the case, regardless of the rules of professional conduct, because it would place an undue burden on the victims' families if the attorney whom they've retained to represent their interests was prohibited from serving as their spokesperson to the media and to other parties in transmitting the victims' families' thoughts and opinions. This assertion of vicarious exemption from the rules of professional conduct is plainly baseless. Besides being entirely inconsistent with the above provided precedent, Mr. Gray's position on this issue is contrary to the long-held acknowledgement that even outside the courtroom, lawyers in pending cases are subject to ethical restrictions on speech when an ordinary citizen would not be. Such has always been the case, as membership into the bar is a privilege burden with conditions. Mr. Gray's representation of the Gonzalez family, which they spelled Gonzalez wrong, does not entitle him to the same degree of freedom of speech that they enjoy as ordinary citizens. Further, Mr. Gray makes it clear that if his motion is granted, he will comment on the case and other issues surrounding the investigation pursuant to Rule 3.6. What portion of Rule 3.6 Mr. Gray invokes here is an open question. Insofar as the rule addresses Mr. Gray's intended subject matter, it expressly identifies it as a subject more likely than not to have a material prejudicial effect on a proceeding, particularly when they refer to a criminal matter or any other proceeding that could result in incarceration. So the IRPC 3.6, indeed, the rule notes that criminal jury trials will be most sensitive to extrajudicial speech. Mr. Gray argues that he will not be offering up his own opinions regarding the facts surrounding the case, but rather only serving as his client's spokesperson, conduit to the media and to other parties in transmitting the victims' families through thoughts and opinions. Far from mitigating the already tenuous nature of his argument, the single and intent again places Mr. Gray at odds with Rule 3.6 and Gentile. The court has already exempted Mr. Gray's clients from its order, adequately preserving their First Amendment rights. To extend this exemption to Mr. Gray would functions solely to grant potentially prejudicial statements that the weight recognized as a danger by the Gentile court on a subject the rule distinguishes as already extremely susceptible to prejudice. If Mr. Gray truly intends only to voice his client's thoughts and opinions, then the court's previous exemption has already cured the supposed First Amendment infirmity. Mr. Gray's clients may voice their thoughts and opinions themselves, as they have clearly been doing. So basically what it's saying here is that the Gonzalez family can continue, talking. It's just Shannon Gray that can't. Werewolf Queen, have a good night. So the sole effect of maintaining the court's order in present form is to continue operation of a remedial measure that prevents prejudice in its inception. Mr. Gray is bound by the rules of professional conduct, and the First Amendment does not excuse him from that obligation. So this was dated on February the 8th, 2023, and it's signed by J. Logston. Okay, let's see, and then this is just a certificate of delivery. That's all the 9 pages. Okay. All right. Headphones, how are you? King Scarlet, where did they put a statement out at? Let's see, but the gag order stops the family from having their attorney with them to guide them through interviews since he's subject to gag order. It's counterproductive. Yeah, because I mean, if they don't, if somebody asks them for an interview and they don't feel comfortable doing the interview without the attorney, even though they can still do the interview, more than likely they're not going to do the interview. Headphones, yes, I'm doing good, thank you. So that was everything that came out today. Exactly, so hindering their rights. Hope Mr. Gray argues that. Hopefully he'll come out with something next. I do believe he was asking for a hearing. Katie, hey, how are you? And welcome to the channel. So I don't know if they've scheduled a hearing or if, the judge is going to schedule it and continue on with this or what. Hey, True Crime 367, how are you? So I don't know. Next, I'm pretty sure something will be coming out from Shannon Gray, the Gonzalez attorney. I don't look for the Gonzalez family to be doing any interviews, especially if they can't have their attorney there. Jenna, hey, how are you? Okay, have you reviewed wait, hold on, y'all. Let me grab this. Okay, so have you reviewed that your fire letter leads, and do you think it's real? The December 19th portion is sesame. I do have. Oh, I seen it it was on Twitter. Where Crime Sleuthing, are you talking about the one where Ashley Banfield, she reads it and then somebody did a screenshot of it and then what this other lady put on there? I did see that on Twitter, and then I did listen to the one that Ashley Banfield was talking about. And then it says on there, that we met on December the 19th. And when I first heard that, I was like, wait a minute, how's that possible when he was in Pennsylvania on December the 19th? So it never made any sense. Let's see, I believe he was fired, but that letter is off. They don't include appeals process either. Because I do have a video that I'm going to play that's talking about, I think I've got it in my inbox, where they're talking about that, like, it could have set Bryan off and caused him to do what he did because of the firing, but they didn't tell him until after the murders. And yeah, Kelly is right. They could have did a Zoom call meeting, um, anything like that. Maybe that's what, if this letter is legit, maybe the person who sent it to him, by saying that we met on December the 19th, maybe they did it through Zoom, because there was a grade that Bryan had given to one of his students that was it the 16th or 17th? I don't remember what the date on it was, but it was, he gave her like a 125 out of 125. And so he already knew, like, at that time he was still doing TA work, but he obviously knew that it was coming up to, he was going to get fired, and maybe it could have set him off, and that's the reason why the murders happened. Maybe all that building up with the school stuff. Hey, T-Berries, how are you? I don't know. We can't put it fully on that, though, because he was fired afterwards. Okay, sent you an email with some clips from the interview that I found. Sorry, it's off topic. Maybe another time. Okay, thank you, Casey. I think the letter said he was fired. I was arrested. So was he fired? Okay, so the letter was sent to him December the 19th, right? I'm going to have to go back and look. Hold on, let me see what this is, because I do have an article that talks about WSU responds about Bryan being fired. CM diagnosed with ASPD and PD. Certainly have a similar pathology to Kohberger. I think he played over the shit was happening with Kaylee. It wasn't true. RW, how are you? Okay, so 12/19 fired, letter dated 12/22. Jim J, how are you? And RW, you're very welcome. Okay, give me just 1 second and let me see if I'm gonna pull this up. All right. Yeah, Jen, I'm gonna have to go. Hold on, because I did write it down, but I'm gonna have to go through my notebook. Hold on just a second. Okay. All right, so 12/9, he had another altercation with the professor, and then 12/19, it says he's fired by WSU. But that was all that, when I was writing those down that night. It didn't say anything about when the letter was dated and all that. Hey, Rebecca, how are you? You didn't get a notice either? Okay, so for everybody, real quick, that's not getting notifications whenever I go live, you might have to click off or click the bell off and then turn the notification back on. hopefully that will it will help it. Okay. Hey, Lori, how are you? That's crazy that some people are not getting the notifications. All right, so this is that WSU responds to report Kohberger was fired. So, Idaho student murder suspect Bryan Kohberger is no longer enrolled or employed by WSU, where he was studying for a PhD in criminology as he sits in the Idaho jail cell facing murder charges and the stabbing deaths of the 4 undergrads. Mr. Kohberger does not currently have a teaching assistantship, and he is not currently enrolled at WSU, said Phil Wheeler, the school's vice president of marketing and communications. But he used to before police alleged that he ambushed a group of students at a house in Moscow, Idaho, just a few miles away from the WSU campus. Mr. Kohberger received an appointment as a teaching assistant at WSU during the fall of 2022 semester. Wheeler explained, "It is typical for students to receive a teaching assistantship or similar appointment as part of their PhD program." Kohberger previously had a graduate student office in the Wilson Short Hall building as part of his studies, was working as a teaching assistant in response to a report of a letter stating Kohberger was fired after a meeting on December the 19th. Wheeler declined to go into specifics about the timing, citing that the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, which protects student records from public disclosure. WSU has not publicly released any information regarding Mr. Kohberger's experience as a teaching assistant. Former students have said that he seemed preoccupied after the slayings and became an easier grader. Following a quadruple homicide just 7 miles away near the University of Idaho, a crime that police allege Kohberger committed, he continued classes and finished out the semester as both a student and a TA. So maybe he was fired, but they let it go to the end of that semester. So did they kick him out of the whole college too? Yeah, crime sleuthing, like, I do believe once he was arrested for this, like, he's not even, I believe that's when they dropped his enrollment. All right, so in mid-December, with investigators looking for evidence against him, he drove home to Pennsylvania. On the way, December the 15th, police body cam video shows the officer stopped him twice in Indiana. According to the court documents, Kohberger's white Hyundai Elantra was recorded on surveillance video in his town of Albrightsville, Pennsylvania on December the 16th. 2 weeks later, a tactical team involving state police and the FBI arrested him at his parents' house there. Police had been seeking the same Elantra after they said that they could place it at the King Road home in Moscow, Idaho, where the murders took place on early November 13th. A review of footage from multiple videos obtained from the King Road home showed multiple sightings of suspect vehicle 1 starting at 3:29 a.m. and ending at 4:20 a.m. Moscow Police Corporal Brent Payne wrote in a PCA, "The sighting shows suspect vehicle 1 makes an initial 3 passes by 11:22 King Road residence and then leaves via Willenta Drive." Rogue Mama, how are you? So on the 4th pass at 4:04 a.m., the car was seen making an awkward parking attempt in a 3-point turn in front of the house, according to the filing. Minutes later, a neighbor's security camera picks up the sounds of a struggle, barking dog voices, or a whimper, and a loud thud. By 4:20, police said the video showed that the car speeding away from the house. A surviving housemate told police she saw a masked man with bushy eyebrows making his way out through the rear sliding door. All right, and then it's just saying that she described him as 5 feet 10 inches tall or taller and athletically built but not muscular. Kohberger is being held without bail at the Latah County Jail on 4 counts of first-degree murder and a burglary charge, and he's due back in court on June 26. Yeah, so I don't think we can say it is corrupt until all evidence is revealed. They are allowed to hold evidence which can make things look shady. I'll be glad when all the evidence is presented, honestly. Okay, I'm just trying to catch up to y'all because when I'm up here reading all this, I can't really keep up with the chat. Okay, we done went over that. Can y'all believe there was a couple of big channels who are on his side in this now? Oh wow. No, Crumb Sleeping, no, I didn't know that. Yeah, I mean, like I said the other night, or well, last night, the guy who came out and said that um, when he first came out weeks ago, I don't think he's that credible, honestly. Yeah, nothing on him driving home for Christmas is a song, not a crime. Yeah, now Rebecca with him, the whole firing thing from the college. I think once they started bringing stuff up to him, um, and he just kept doing it, and they kept getting on to him for it. They wasn't backing down from him. Hey, banker guy, how are you? They wasn't backing down from him. He just kept doing it and thought they would, and he, as egotistical as he is and narcissistic, he didn't see anything that he was doing wrong, and it probably made him mad. Seriously, Ashley, how are you? Okay, so if notifications are off for YouTube in the settings, it will trump the notification bell. So make sure notifications are on in the settings and hit the bell. Thank you for that information, Ashley. Okay, sounds like he is spiraling fast. Even after the murders, he likely would have struck again and soon. Yeah, I do believe if he hasn't done it already. Hey, seventh row, how are you? If he hasn't done it already before, I think he would have done it again, honestly. Okay, so I'm gonna grab this video. Hopefully this one doesn't play all jacked up like the one I played last night did. Oh my gosh. Okay. 1 second, y'all. Okay. All right, so it's gonna take it a second for this video to come up. Y'all, my internet is just crazy slow tonight. Did he believe something was there when it wasn't? She could have mocked or belittled him. Humiliations, that's how you described it. Escaped it. Sima, how are you? So Greg said the question is, how did he navigate in the house when dark so fast and be killing? I'm wondering if it was completely dark or if they had, you know, like some lights on in the house. Did they leave the kitchen light on? Was there a certain light that they like? Some people will leave their light on over their kitchen sink, or over their stove. Um, you know, was there certain lights that they had left on? Okay, y'all. So maybe this will start playing. Hopefully, okay, let me get it pulled up here. Mar, can you hear me? I know Mar said she was going to lay down, so she may have her hand on her phone or something. And okay, so the good vibes light, yeah, that could have been on. I don't know exactly how much light that would have put off, but probably enough to see his way from the door that leads from the little hallway kitchen area into the living room. So the good vibes light, some Christmas. Oh, I forgot about the Christmas lights that they had in the living room. It was on here, Santa's room. Lori and CJ, how are you? Let's see. Scarlett, do you believe he was fired? Um, I could believe that happened to him, Brian, just because the stories that we've heard about him. Um, from the bar in Pennsylvania, and how he was talking to the females there, the female customers. The manager had to come out and basically tell him that they didn't put up with stuff like that. What's being said that his reasonings for being fired were, the sexist comments towards the women, being rude to women, and then grading women's uh, work differently than he did the men students. You know, stuff that we've seen him post about how he has no emotions. Him bullying people when he was younger. Him getting into it with the professors. I could fully believe that he got fired. Like old school naughty movies. Crime sleuthing. I don't know what's up with the videos. Like last night, it did this too. So I'm hoping that it plays right. What's up? It only does that on News Nation videos though. They pull it fine, and then like once I pull them up and share the screen, they start doing this. All right, so I'm fixing to go ahead and play it for y'all, and then it's like 8 minutes long, and I'm gonna mute out. All right, Mar, you have a good night, honey.
Had a propensity for bloody up close murder, and that has not yet been proved. He still may have needed like a trigger, something to set him off, like maybe a personal crisis, maybe a loss, something that might have made him lash out. Maybe like losing a job, like losing his job as a teaching assistant at Washington State University. And then with that, losing your funding for the doctoral studies program you're in the school, because it appears right now that that's what happened. We now have sources with direct knowledge of the termination letter that was sent to Bryan Kohberger. And tonight I want to read the letter to you in full. The letter is dated December the 19th, 2022. Starts this way. Mr. Kohberger, I am writing this letter to formally inform you of the termination of your teaching assistantship with the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology effective December 31st, 2022. In keeping with the WSU Graduate Student Handbook, chapters 9G2, remember that, and 12E3, remember that, below is the list of events that led to you being deficient on the following contingency clause of your funding. Quote, maintaining satisfactory progress in fulfilling assistantship service requirements and duties. On September 23rd, 2022, you had an altercation with the faculty you support as a TA, Professor Snyder. I met with you on October 3rd to discuss norms of professional behavior. On October 21st, Professor Snyder emailed you about the ways in which you had failed to meet your expectations as a TA. Thus far, in the semester. As a result, on November 2, Graduate Director Willits and I met with you to discuss an improvement plan, which you agreed to, and I shared with you in an email dated November 3rd. We met again December 7th, this time with a professor, Professor Snyder, as well as Dr. Willits and I, to discuss your progress on the improvement plan. While not perfect, we agreed there was progress. On December 9th, there was another altercation with Professor Snyder, in which it became apparent that you had not made progress regarding professionalism, and about which I wrote to you on December 11th requesting a meeting. We met on December 19th when I informed you of your termination as a TA for spring semester. So there's that. And we dug into the WSU Undergraduate Student Handbook, and we learned something that those two chapters, 9G2 to start with, that is the protocol for termination mid-semester or before the end of the period stipulated in a current offer letter. And that other one, 12E3, covers graduate and professional student complaint and grievance procedures. All very interesting. Joining me now, Jennifer Coffendorfer. She's a former FBI special agent. She's been following this case since the beginning. Jennifer, I'm so fascinated by the dating on this. Now, we don't know who the author of the letter is. We heard certain names that were quoted in that letter. We don't know who wrote the letter. It just refers to as I. But the dates on it are, significant because we knew that he knew he had a meeting coming up on January 19th. He could have been doing that by Zoom as he was crossing country. But it almost sounded like he didn't see this coming. He didn't see the firing coming.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, certainly by these dates, though, he knows there is something going awry with his position and would certainly be concerned if these allegations are true. And I agree with you that this would be something that could trigger. It would not answer why he did this, but it would explain why he chose the time to do this. Losing a job, potentially losing your income, the embarrassment of losing your position, maybe even having your dream of being a PhD in jeopardy. These would all be triggering factors to propel you into doing something this heinous, combined with his true reasoning from deep inside himself.
So what's extraordinary is the screenshot that you have come across from a source, a student of Bryan Kohberger's. It's a screenshot of correspondence that she had with him, and specifically a statement that he wrote to her. And here it is. I'm putting it up on the screen. This is Jennifer's reporting. She said, this student is written to. Kohberger says on December 16th, "I'm glad that this course has given you a more nuanced perspective pertaining to CJ, as criminal justice. Have a great break." Again, this is December 16th. He's going to be canned 3 days later. He's in the process, of being canned. But it truly does seem that he's, carrying on the work of being a TA, even as he's left. He's already in Pennsylvania by this point. I guess he's working from home at mom and dad's house.
Yes, it would seem so. And, typically someone with a narcissistic personality doesn't really see anything wrong with what they're doing and doesn't really comprehend sometimes the negative impact of their actions and behaviors. And they carry on as normal until, as in this case, if true, he was indeed fired.
So can I ask you, and I don't know if you're able to say, because we do keep sources close to the vest, that student he was corresponding with, was it a male or a female student?
Female.
Interesting, because if we can put that back up, there's a score that's written in the top right-hand corner of the email, and I think it was like 125 out of 125. We can't see it on that version of it, but was that the accurate score? They got a perfect score, this female, because we've heard he's been grading female candidates, students a lot lower.
That's certainly what this intimated. I cut it down just to keep her identity not revealed.
Sure.
But that's what it looked like, 125 out of 125.
Okay. So the next thing I wanted to mention, Jennifer, is that Melissa Luck, who's a journalist at KXLY in Spokane, she received a response from WSU about this termination letter and all the reporting that we've been doing. And WSU cited a whole bunch of federal law saying they can't, release a lot of employment records, but they did say this. This is what the statement that she got was. In part, Mr. Kohberger does not currently have a teaching assistantship, and he is not currently enrolled in WSU. What do you make of that?
it was certainly ambiguous. They did not want to say anything that would have been against the policies and procedures of release of information. But I did find this interesting. Recall when the search warrant was returned on his office. I thought it very surprising that not one thing was gleaned from that office. Not a computer, not any paperwork, not any doodling, nothing from that office. And this possibly could explain why.
It's fascinating. I just want to add one piece of new reporting tonight as well, Jennifer. You may already know of this, but it just sort of crossed the wires late. That Pennsylvania police in two different areas, the Northampton County District and Lehigh County, are now looking into their cold cases. Because don't forget, he's from Pennsylvania. You went across the country to Idaho to go to school, or to Washington to go to school. And they're saying they're looking through all their cold cases now for possible links to Kohberger. I suppose that's not a surprise given what they're now learning, in the allegations against him. Jennifer, excellent reporting as usual. Thank you for doing this. Appreciate it.
Okay. I'm sorry, y'all, how the video was playing. I don't know if it's YouTube or what it is, but the video was all jacked up. Hey, Delene, how are you? So they had to have met whenever this letter, if it is legit, and it's saying we met on December the 19th. It had to have been through a Zoom call or something for them to talk. It's like it was showing, and I wish I could have seen it. He was still grading papers while he was at his parents' house. Thank you, Greg. Hopefully, if it is on YouTube's end, though, they'll get that fixed here soon. All right. Did y'all know that there is a petition? Somebody, I think, might have said this in chat a minute ago, but there's a petition that's going around to ban Ann Taylor from representing Bryan. Did y'all know that? Let's see, but he had cleaned out of it. Jerry, he probably did. Maybe he had no intentions on of coming back to WSU. Hey, Dub, how are you? Nina, how are you? Maybe everything that was left in his apartment, he left it on purpose. And, was, especially if they were already getting onto him and he was having meetings with the professors and with possibly the PhD program people that's over it and all this and that, maybe he had every intention of never coming back. Thank you, Dub. Misty Blue, how are you? Okay, I bet he was lying to his parents saying he wanted to stay in PA, go to school there instead due to the violence. Yeah, he could have used that as an excuse. He was being fired, kicked out of school. Okay, I'm going to pull this petition up. When I looked at they're only needing or asking for 1,000 signatures. When I looked at it earlier today, they already had over 500. Misty Blue, you're very welcome. And yes, I'm doing good. Thank you. So let me get it pulled up here now and see how many they have. Okay, so now it's, hey Angie, how are you? Yeah, I can put the link to it. Give me 1 second, I'll grab it. Oh shit, it's not gonna let me. Okay. Let's see if I can take out HTTP. Okay. All right, so that's the link. Y'all may have to copy and paste it from the chat. It wouldn't allow me to put the HTTP and all that in it. Okay, so now it has 1,040. Let me pull it up. So to begin with, they were only asking for 1,000 signatures. I guess once they hit 1,000, they bumped it up to 1,500. And now they have 1,040. Hey Tara, how are you? Let's see, still playing with the just to clear. Yeah, I'm fixing to read all this. See, have you discussed here with the family and lawyer fighting the gag order? Why are they so persistent on being able to talk publicly? I don't understand their motives. And yeah, Misty Blue, I just read there was 3 different documents that was put out today on the Idaho website, on their state website. One of them was the affidavit from the prosecutor, which was only like a page and a half. And then he did also a memorandum, and all it was I think 10 or 12 pages of nothing but different cases that they were referencing to because of the whole gag order and why, he needed to be left under it, talking about Shannon Gray. And then Bryan Kohberger's litigation attorney put out a document as well. And we went over that, and it's basically saying that Shannon Gray needs to stay under the gag order because he, as an attorney, is able to get information. But it also says in there that the Gonzalez family, which, by the way, they didn't even spell the Gonzalez name correctly in the document, but they're able to continue talking. But because they have legal representation and someone comes out and asks them to do an interview, they're more than likely not going to do the interview. Try to copy to link for chat. Can't do it. Y'all can go. Oh, so it won't. And it's too long to put it in the comments. Let me see. See if that works. Hold on. I'm going to click on it and see. Okay, so the last one that I posted works. So you can go to it from there. Okay. All right, so the last link that I posted in the chat for the petition, it does work. Okay, so they've bumped it up to needing 1,500 signatures. They now have 1,040. It was started by Sarah Jackson. You want me to email it to you, White Widow Baby? Nurse Corky, how are you? You always share a way to share mods. Get ready for geeks and freaks and all, but be careful. Okay. All right, let me email it to y'all real quick. Okay, it's sent to you. All right, so it says, and I'm not sure who Sarah Jackson is. She just says to sign the petition to remove Ann Taylor as Bryan Kohberger's attorney. Ann Taylor, the chief of the Kootenai County Public Defender's Office, began representing Kohberger 28 after he was extradited in Idaho, where he is charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary earlier in January. Taylor, who was chief of the Kootenai County Public Defender's Office, was the attorney for 1, possibly 3 of the victims' family members, only to drop them as clients to pursue defending their children's alleged killer, Bryan Kohberger. Taylor was defending Kohberger's alleged victims' families back in November 2022, only to drop them as a client once an official arrest was made on Kohberger. Court records show that Taylor filed an attorney withdrawal notice in Kootenai County courts for victim Kernodle's mother, Kara Kernodle, on January the 5th, the same day that Kohberger made an initial appearance in the Latah County courtroom. So Nima Romney, an attorney for the former federal prosecutor, said that there is a potential conflict of interest because Taylor presumably has to cross-examine the parent during the guilt or death penalty phase of the trial if necessary. The public defender's role as a lawyer for a murder victim's parents, where she now represents the alleged murderer, at a minimum presents an appearance of a possible conflict. Hey, Sudie, how are you? So Ann Taylor filed a document asking the court to withdraw from representing her former client 1 day after Bryan Kohberger was extradited to Idaho to face the death penalty charges for the fatal stabbings of Xana, her boyfriend Ethan, and 2 roommates Kaylee and Maddie in Moscow, Idaho. A legal expert has warned that the quadruple murder suspect Bryan Kohberger could have his conviction overturned if his current attorney does not recuse herself from the case after glaring a conflict of interest came to light. A legal expert is now calling for Taylor to recuse herself from Kohberger's case, as he believes it could result in the suspected killer appealing any result in which he is found guilty. California appellate and litigation lawyer Matthew Barholma told DailyMail.com that Taylor seems to want to work on the case with Kohberger, describing it as an odd and unique situation. There is very high likelihood that the parents are going to testify in the trial, especially if it becomes a death penalty trial, which they did say in the documents that came out today, that the parents could be witnesses. Okay. Hey, JJ, how are you? So the parents and the families are going to stand up in court and testify, and in that instance, Taylor will be cross-examining her own former client. So this is a major conflict of interest with possible terrible repercussions. And that says, please do not donate money. We are only looking for signatures. Thanks to each and every one of you. And as of right now, they're still sitting at 1,040. So it's not going up as fast as it was today. Hey, Tech Death, how are you? So I don't know if she's going to be removed. They can get all the signatures they want. I just don't think that's really going to do anything. Okay, why would it not be a death penalty case? Dub, the prosecutor has to announce if he's going to go for the death penalty. And they haven't came out and said, I think it's like they have to let them know 60 days. I believe it said, if I remember correctly, 60 days before the trial or something like that. I'd have to go back and look through my notes. All right, so I just wanted to show y'all that. Okay. I do know that Kaylee's family, one of their interviews that they did say that they were for it. Now, Xana's mom has came out and said that she's not looking for the death penalty. She's not that type of person. Um, she just wants justice served, and she wants Bryan to spend the rest of his life in jail. But in my opinion, I think they're going to go for the death penalty. Okay, trial's months away and still there's no time to decide. So there is still time to decide, yeah. Hey, Mrs. Kelly, how are you? But I honestly don't think that she's going to recuse herself from this, and I don't think that she's going to be taken off of this case. I really don't think that she is. So I'm just curious to see what's going to come out between now and oh, it won't work. Okay, so I'm just curious what's going to come out between now and June. Okay, White Widow Baby, that link that I sent to you, remove everything after the question mark. Hey, Auto Flower Lover, how are you? Yeah, Nurse Corky, I don't think she will either. American Princess, how are you? Yeah, remove everything that's behind the question mark, and then it should work. That's what I had to do, and then I reposted it in the chat, and then it worked. Tara, thank you so much for the super chat. And she says, thank you, Scarlett, for your calming nature for us having insomnia due to our jobs or other things. Tara, you're very welcome, and thank you all so much for coming and hanging out with me at night. American Princess, I'm doing good, thank you. Okay, if he is convicted of the murders, there is no way this isn't a death penalty case. If this crime doesn't scream death penalty, then what does? I think it is. If they present the evidence and the jury comes back with a guilty verdict, and there's no doubt in their mind that he's the one that done it, I fully believe they should go for the death penalty. For sure. It doesn't look right. Okay, hold on. I'll go grab it again. Give me just a second, y'all. I'm going to grab this. Where did it go? Okay, here we go. Okay. Give me just a second, y'all. I'm trying to get this pulled back up. All right, copy. Let me get this sent to them real quick. Okay, White Widow Baby, try this one. I removed everything from the behind the question mark. I removed it. And Taylor had to drop Kara's case because there was a caseload limit when a public defender had the penalty case. Rum Runner, how are you? Okay, and if it goes not trial, no pleas and conviction, it will be death penalty. Now, unless they decide to do some type of plea with him, I think that would consist on him or of him admitting to it for instead of getting a death penalty, getting life in prison, I don't think this dude is going to confess to anything. I really don't. He's too egotistical for that, in my opinion. Okay, good. So that one worked. Hey, Philly, how are you? Okay, so there is a video that News Nation posted on Twitter that I haven't got to listen to yet, but it's Bryan that's talking about how stuff is different from what the PCA is saying. Okay, we thought in the UK you can get the death penalty a month later. Now, Tara, here in the US, if you're convicted of a crime like what Bryan is being charged with, and you're found guilty, and it's a death penalty case, then the person who is found guilty, they have several different appeals that they can do. Once all the appeals have ran out, and I don't know exactly how many they have, but they have so many that they can do. I believe at that point, once they're all ran out and there's, they don't get out of it, it's not overturned, it's not, they don't get a life instead of death, whatever it may be, then I believe at that time or sometime after that period is when they give them their dates. Okay, in Idaho, there's people still waiting on death row since the 80s and 90s. Oh, wow. I know a lot of people sit on death row for many, many years. Well, I don't know. I just hope that if they prove that it's him, then that's what he gets. I know some people aren't for it, and that's perfectly fine. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion about it. Some people don't like it. They don't agree with it. Me personally, if someone does something like that and they're guilty or found guilty, then yeah, they should get it. Okay, yeah, I'm fixing to play this one here. It's only like a minute long. I haven't got to hear it yet. It says, this is from News Nation, they said that Bryan Enton reacts to alleged new details in the Idaho quadruple murder case. It doesn't jive exactly with what's in the probable cause affidavit, which is a very important document that police use to make the arrest. All right, so hopefully this will play. It's only, I think, right at 2 minutes.
Bryan, all of this is more to solving the puzzle that so many people have been conflicted over. Why on earth wouldn't someone call the police right away if they saw a figure in the house? I think this may give a little bit more context to what Dylan saw and what she was thinking and what she was going through.
Yeah, maybe a little bit, but I still have so many questions and something just isn't adding up here. I mean, the always locking of the door, that makes sense because we know this was a party house and all the rooms had individual doors. But what this anonymous source has told you, it doesn't jive exactly with what's in the probable cause affidavit, which is a very important document that police use to make the arrest. And that document has the information that the roommate gave the police, even specific quotes saying that there was someone there. It's okay. I'm going to help you. That she heard crying. And then perhaps the most important thing, Ashley, that doesn't seem to jive with this new information, she said, quote, that she was in a frozen shock phase. A frozen shock phase. I don't understand how that matches up with her just thinking that, you know, that there was partying going on in the house.
So it's a really good point. I was trying to sort of make sense of that as well. And I can say this about all the probable cause affidavits that I've read. They are just a skinny little piece of the picture. And there's very little of the full story that's in the probable cause affidavit. So I think both things can be true at the same time. She may have done exactly as the probable cause affidavit outlines, but these may have been some of the additional things that happened. And I think there's even more. And as far as the shock phase that she's in, you know, being a girl who is in college at 4 o'clock in the morning in the, you know, dark house, seeing a man all clad in black that you don't recognize with a mask on might have been a little jarring, might have been a little frightening.
Okay. So I think Brian Enton gets it. Chris, how are you? And Ram Fan, how are you? Brian Enton is saying it doesn't add up, y'all. And it doesn't. One time she's scared, but what is she scared of to the point that she has to lock herself in a room? But then she locked herself in a room because she thought it was party people. Nothing in any of this that's came out recently makes any sense whatsoever. All right, let's see. Was anyone in here watching the Murdaugh trial talk about poor evidence that is likely? Crime Sleuth, and I haven't watched it since they did part of the trial where they didn't have the jury in them. I haven't watched it since then because I've been so busy with everything else. Okay, I saw that today and was like, what the fuck is the real story? That's what I'm saying, Philly. Like, which is it? Was she scared when she seen this guy and she locked herself in her room? But what was she scared of? You know, if she didn't see what was going on in the house, she had no idea. Just as she heard a few different things, and she sees this guy, like, why was she so scared that she locked herself in her room? But she could call the three girls, and they didn't answer, so she still didn't call 911. Or she heard all these noises, hollers out her room for everybody to be quiet. She's trying to sleep. Thought it was people there still partying, so she locks her room, which I could get if, you know, if I'm living with other people and they're having other people over that don't live there, and I may not know who all these people are, or if I'm trying to sleep and I don't want nobody in my room bothering me, I'm going to lock the door. So if that was the case, I completely get that. But which is it? You know, still a lot of questions. Like, you know, we're being told still to this day, just like we have from the very beginning, we're being told one thing and then it turns around and we're being told something else. So done with it. How are you? Okay, I'm not believing she was scared or in shock that long. It's just not realistic. I just don't understand it. Okay, so if it's true that she yelled out, she may have alerted him that someone was up and around downstairs, so he came looking. Sad thought, I don't believe it though. About 6 minutes. I just don't. Angelina, how are you? I still think that there was somebody else. But if I had to believe the PCA or I had to believe a source, which I understand that news agencies isn't going to give the name of their source. Maybe that person giving up this information has asked them not to give their name out, which I get. But if I have to choose between which one I'm going to believe, I'm going to believe the probable cause. See, don't even train lawyers are confused about the Murdoch case. Don't go there. It's up in the list. Yeah, the whole Murdoch case is, when I was watching it, was crazy. I did see where the family, some of the family members were asked to sit in the back part of the courtroom. His son and his sister has gotten in trouble. They're thinking that maybe his sister handed something off to him while in court and caused Alec to have to do drug tests now. Because they think that maybe the sister handed something to his attorney that then give it to him, and they don't know what it was. Tango, how are you? Okay, she would have heard screaming for sure from Ethan's girlfriend. Also, he would have not left a witness. I've honestly, I don't see 4 people getting murdered and there not be some type of noise. Especially if she's watching her boyfriend, talking about Xana, is watching her boyfriend get murdered. She's scared to death. This guy's got a knife. Whether she knew him or not. And then this guy comes after her. She's fighting the guy. No, Jen, I'm talking about Xana seeing Ethan get murdered and her screaming. She's fighting. She grabs the knife, is what's been said. She has severe cuts on her fingers, almost to the point that they were severed. I just don't see that there wasn't no screaming. Mom Bear, how are you? See, Buster. Oh, yes, I did hear that too. He flipped off one of the. It was it the attorney that had something to do with the maid's insurance thing or something like that? That Buster ended up flipping off and they called him. Crime sleuthing. Are you talking about the lady? Was she in New York? Because there was one that I read. This lady that she was, I want to say she was in college too. And she said that she had went out with some friends and then they ended up coming back in that night. I don't know if it was like later on in the morning or whatever it was, but they go into the room. They try to wake the roommate up. They're shaking her and everything else, and they didn't. She wouldn't wake up, so they go to call paramedics. When the paramedics get there and they come in, she said at that point there was like blood all over the place. But she didn't mention there being blood before. I'm sorry, I don't remember. It was a college student, 92 or so. It was practically the same thought she heard. Okay, that may be the same one I'm talking about. I've seen it. There's one. It's a news article that I've seen, and it's talking about. This lady is talking about trying to explain what Dylan might have been going through that night, and why it could have taken her so long and being scared and all that. I won't go into details because it's not about me, but I have witnessed a violent crime before, and you would be surprised how quickly and quietly things can occur. I didn't hear a thing. Casey, I'm sorry to hear that. My video has a little bit that's shocking. Whatever, that's how long it can last. But like now this whole new thing is coming out. I'm wondering if she was scared and in shock, and that's why she went in her room or locked it? Or did she lock the door because she thought it was a party still going on? I don't get why we're being told one thing like we have from the very beginning. If you remember from the very beginning, Dylan and Bethany were on the first floor. Kind of find out Dylan was on the second floor. They were both home that night by 1 o'clock and slept through the whole thing. Now the PCA comes out and Bethany tells them when she's interviewed that she saw Ethan and Xana at the frat house from 9 o'clock to 1:45. How could that be possible if she was home at 1 o'clock? There was a threat to the community. Then there was no threat. Even though they didn't know who the guy was who did this. You know, it was a target attack, then it wasn't. Then it was just how they put it, a single target attack or something like that. Like we're just being told one thing and then turn around and we're being told something else. Let's see. What about people getting up to use the bathroom, like Dylan going to the bathroom in the middle of the night after the murders when she was seeing blood? Tango, somebody had actually asked that. Because if this had happened between 4 and 5 in the morning, and she didn't walk out of her room. Hey, Terry, how are you? If she didn't walk out of her room until, let's just say 11:30. You know, they said they tried to wake, you know, I believe it was Ethan up. They thought he passed out. They called people, us and that. It seems like she would have had to have at some point during the night go out and use the restroom. But like somebody said, Xana's door was closed, but it seems like she would have still, you know, maybe checked on them. I don't know. Just this whole thing is crazy. Honestly. Okay, when you're in shock, your body shuts down to only vital functions. You don't feel hungry, no need to pee till the shock wears off. Dylan was partying. There's no way she didn't use the bathroom between. Time the killer left and the time the phone call was made. Where's the bathroom in relation to Dylan? Okay, so Tango, the bathroom on that floor that Dylan was on, which was the same floor that Ethan and Xana was on, the bathroom is literally outside of Xana's bedroom door. So she would have had to have either went upstairs to the third floor bathroom. Hey, Sweet Pickles, how are you? Which that bathroom is right outside of Maddie's door. She would have had to use the one on the second floor, which is right outside of Xana's room, or she would have had to go downstairs and use that one down there, which was closer to Bethany's door on that end of the house. See, blocks it out. And then again, Ellie say they saw Xana upon approach at the top of the stairs. So at some point before Ellie arrived. Yeah, there's so many different stories. It's hard to know which one is true and isn't true. Simple Butterfly, I got your email, but I couldn't open the pictures for some reason. Thank you, Philly. But I also don't understand, and this is just me, and I've said this before. If I live in a house with my friends and I hear my friends crying and I know that there is a guy in her room, I'm going to go find out why my friend is crying. Whether it's her boyfriend, her husband, her brother, her dad, like I don't care who the guy is to her. If I hear my friend crying, I'm going to go find out what's going on. And I don't think Ethan, and I'm not saying that because I think Ethan would hurt Xana, because I don't think that. And I don't think that Dylan thought that either. It's just a thought that if you hear your friend crying, you go check on them. Whether you're just going to check and be like, hey, are you okay? Or what's going on or whatever. And Dylan didn't even do that. And at the point that she heard the crying, she didn't even know that there was a guy walking around in all black with a mask on at 4 something in the morning. She didn't even know that that guy was even in the house. So I don't know. Hopefully, you know, I'm sure everything's going to come out in June the 26th. I'm just curious to know what we're going to hear between now and then. Okay, if you got scared, then you know something. Exactly, Valerie. If she really got scared because she saw this guy, what, like, if you think it's a party going on, then why did this guy scare you? There's a lot of things in this case that still isn't making any sense. And if anybody would like to come up on panel to discuss this, y'all are more than welcome to. Okay, I'm nosy if I hear something odd and I'm opening my door multiple times. At some point, I'm going to investigate, not just stay in my room. That's what I'm saying. Like, especially if I hear one of my friends crying. I've already heard weird noises. You know, you think you hear Kaylee upstairs playing with Murphy. Okay, that's probably normal. You know, the dog was always at the house with them. She's probably heard that same sound before, Kaylee playing with him before they go to bed and all this and that. But how many times since Dylan has lived in that house with these girls has she heard somebody say, there's someone here? It's okay, I'm going to help you? Or she hears crying? Like, how many times has she heard that? Thought she may have been tripping. I just don't know. I don't get. I mean, okay, so she sees this guy in a house. And it scares her to the point that she goes and she locks herself in her bedroom. She doesn't know anything else has went on in the house. Right? So just seeing this guy, what is going to make her so scared? Just seeing this guy walk by her who may have said something to her, but more than likely didn't, because she said he walks towards her and then walks towards the sliding glass door. So let's just say he didn't say anything about her or anything to her. So he didn't threaten her or anything like that. What made her so scared to lock her door and not call the police? If there's some weird dude in my house, whether it's a party house or not, I'm still going to call the police. Happy Cactus, how are you? I think that there's a lot of people, y'all, honestly, and once again, this is just my opinion, but I think that there's a lot of people who have some explaining to do on things that the public has been told, because we are hearing two different stories on a lot of this stuff, and obviously one of them is going to be a lie. H-Town Finest, how are you? Okay, so when will we... Oh, shoot, I lost the thing. Okay, when will we understand that she knows more than she told Ellie? Oh, I completely believe that. Is the footprint still facing DM's door? Brad, they didn't really show how the footprint was. Like, they didn't show a picture or anything or explain if it was pointing towards her door or if it was like it was curving going into the kitchen area. So that I really don't know. And Philly, thank you so much for gifting those memberships. That was very nice of you. All right, Val, I'm fixing to bring you up.
Hey,
All right.
how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I've been listening. So I have a question. I heard about the part where she yelled out the door to be quiet to her friends.
Uh-huh.
Correct?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes.
Was that part, is that legit or is that not legit? Because I'm just so confused.
Okay, so in the very beginning, when this case first broke, someone had came out and said that one of the housemates, either they were saying it was Bethany that did it. They never said Dylan. Had heard some noise and she hollered out from the first floor to Ethan to keep it down. She's trying to sleep. Well, now the source, whoever the source is, who's claiming that his girlfriend is in Dylan's inner circle, is the one that hollered out and told him to be quiet. So once again, it's two different stories that we're hearing.
It's Bethany. So it's Bethany that yelled out.
And that's another thing. I don't know if that's even true or not, because to begin with, they said it was Bethany that did it. And now they're saying that Dylan did it. So did Bethany do it? Did Dylan do it? Or was it done at all?
Right. Because my thing is, if it happened, why wouldn't it be PCA if that happened?
Yeah, I mean, that is true. But at the same time, they're
instead
not
of her getting shot.
Yeah, but they're not going to put everything in the PCA. They put just enough in that PCA just to get the arrest warrant. And what I don't understand is, if Bethany was home, did she just sleep through it and not hear anything at all? And there was nothing that she contributed to the investigation that was worth putting in the PCA? Or was she just not home?
Exactly my part. Okay, so right. So that's what I'm thinking. So if it was Bethany that even heard anything, why did they not even say, hey, Bethany heard some noise up on the second floor? Why wouldn't they put that? It seems to me like she wasn't even there because she was never even mentioned.
That's what I'm thinking. Because when they came
so
out
how
and
could they
said,
say that someone yelled out a door? Right.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. So okay. I don't want to get feedback. My phone starts acting crazy a little bit. But what I'm trying to say is, by them not even mentioning Bethany in the PCA, how is it that she yelled out a door, whether they mentioned it or not? Wouldn't they mention her hearing noise, like putting that she was there? The way they put it, it seemed like she wasn't even there.
I mean, I would have thought that if she heard
because
something,
she was not mentioned.
Right. That they would have put it in there that, the noise was loud enough that she was able to hear it on the first floor. Plus, I mean, I don't know, honestly, because like I said, the whole telling one thing and then telling something else is what's confusing everybody. And I get that they don't have to put everything in probable cause, but the way they put it at the very beginning, telling us that they were both, Dylan and Bethany were out separately in the community that night, never mentioning anything about Bethany even being at the frat house that night. But her and Dylan ended up back home around 1 o'clock. And I always said that seems weird if they were not together that night, that they both ended up back home at 1 o'clock in the morning. But then whenever the probable cause comes out, all of a sudden Bethany is over at the frat house and she saw Ethan and Xana from 9 to 1:45. So that doesn't even put her at home at 1 o'clock. That puts her still at the frat house. So did she stay with somebody that night? Did she stay at the frat house? Did she come home with Ethan and Xana whenever they came home? It's none of it's adding up. And this is
how can you be at home?
That's what I'm wondering.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I'm wondering, like, how are you home at 1 o'clock, but you've seen them still at the frat house at 1:45?
At 1:45. It's like, where are these reports coming from? Like,
That's
are they just putting out stuff?
I mean, the whole thing about Bethany and Dylan being out in the community and being home by 1 o'clock, that came from the police. Like, this is stuff that the police are are telling us, crime sleuthing. Yes, you can come up if you'd like. There's a link. It's, we're getting, this is what's coming from the
Yeah,
police.
it's
It none of it is making sense. And this isn't, sources telling us one thing. Like, the only thing really that we've gotten from a source is that what the FBI is saying that Dylan said isn't what Dylan really said, and all this and that, and that Dylan was the one that yelled out. But everything else that we've gotten, as far as where they were at that night, before the PCA, it wasn't a targeted attack, or there's no threat to the community, or there was. All of that's coming from the police department. Like, they tell us one thing and then they turn around and tell us something else.
exactly. I was going to ask you, did you hear that recording on the drunk turkey, the alleged guy that has a girlfriend that's good friends with Bethany? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I actually heard
Did you hear what he
whenever.
said?
Yeah, I haven't listened to it since everybody's been bringing it up the last couple of days, but I did hear it whenever this guy first came out, like right after the PCA come out. This guy comes out and is telling that same story, that his girlfriend is really good friends with Dylan. Hey, Cricket Moon, how are you? That, Dylan didn't have PTSD. She was the same Dylan that she always had been. Like, this dude came out literally right after the probable cause came out. So that's been out for a while.
Right. I
And
personally don't think she has PTSD. I'm sorry. I just don't think she does.
Yeah, he says she had no trauma, she didn't have PTSD.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I don't believe so either. And
I
if
don't
she does,
I don't believe those people. I don't believe she
crimes.
does. That's just my mind. I go my first mind. My first mind is telling me that she doesn't do that. But the people that come on Turkey show, like Kim and all that guy, I don't believe those people. Those are just, I don't know where those people are coming from. But PTSD, I don't believe it.
I don't either. Crime sleuthing, can
That's
you
the
hear
only
us
thing
okay?
that I believe that he said, that she doesn't do that.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Crime Sleuth.
Hi, Val.
Hi. I'm good.
Good.
Hey.
I like to play devil's advocate a lot in these cases, and try to really think critically on them. I do know with the PCA, I did work at a law firm for seven years, and even though I was not a paralegal, I did do some paralegal work for I wasn't supposed to. I basically just typed up stuff that was, told to type up. I was the legal secretary, and I did the reception work. But so I learned a lot about PCAs back then, and in PCAs, we would see all the evidence, but they would only put in the PCA what was required to get a warrant. They had to mention Dylan in this PCA, not Bethany, only because Dylan saw the person, said she saw the person, and that linked him and his description. And it also linked the footprint that they found on the floor. So that's the only reason that they mentioned Dylan.
I'm curious about the footprint, though, because I'm wondering if maybe the footprint is coming from one of the kids that was in the house that they called.
Yeah, totally. I think that the footprint evidence will probably end up getting tossed because they didn't even find that until the second time they searched.
Right.
So I think eventually that's going to get tossed. So much gets tossed out at pretrial. It's shocking.
Honestly, I'm curious to find out what all these other leaks are going to be that are, people coming out and saying this and that before June. You know,
Oh my gosh, I
we got the guy
know.
coming out. You know, like I said, the guy that's claiming that his girlfriend is friends with Dylan, like he came out weeks ago, and now all of a sudden he's like, you know, people are going back and replaying his recording or whatever. I don't know if he's very credible or
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, there was another channel earlier that did a good video on that or live, and they showed like the old posts that were up, and then the new interview or whatever by Banfield, and it was like she's using almost the same verbiage, like quoting all this stuff that was on YouTube and
Right.
wherever else she saw it, mainly YouTube, and it seems like that was kind of her source of the information, is what it seemed like, because it was
Yeah.
so close to what was already out there. And it didn't say that she actually talked to the person currently. She was just going off of information that she had. And I thought that was so weird. Like, really? So the press can use, anonymous people on YouTube now as sources?
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
They're
I
just
get.
they're thirsty.
Right. And I completely get if you have credible information, you know, and you've talked to police, and the police didn't say, look, don't talk to anybody else, or, you know, they didn't tell them anything like that, and they're not under a gag order, and they want to go to a news outlet and tell their story, and they don't want their name out, because people on the internet are ruthless. And if they find out your
Yeah.
name from putting this information out, a lot of people get attacked and all this and that. So I can get someone who doesn't want to give a news outlet their name or ask them not to put their name out there. I completely get that. But there's been so much different stories in this case that, you know, this person could be completely credible, but we're not going to believe them, not fully anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
we've been told so much that we really don't know what to believe. I believe the probable cause, even though it was very confusing. Um, I would believe that over, I think, anything else. Because, like I said, they have to put certain things in there to get the warrant, but they can't put anything in there that's not facts. Like they can't
Right.
put anything that's not the truth just to get an arrest warrant.
Yes, the PCA is the one place where they can't lie.
Right. And
Can't lie
so
that.
I would have to go along with that. Like I said, even though the dang thing was completely confusing. Hey there, Krista, how are you? But
What happened to Val? Where'd Val go?
she said that her phone was getting a lot of static. She put a comment in the private
Oh,
chat, so she had to drop down.
okay. Oh,
But
okay.
but yeah, if the PCA is saying that Dylan opens the door and she sees this guy walking towards her. He's all in black and he has a mask on covering his nose and his mouth. And she notices his bushy eyebrows. And she got
Yeah.
scared to the point like she was in a frozen shock state. And so she went in her room and she locked her door. Okay, then that's what happened. Not that she, you know, maybe she did holler outside and they just didn't put that in the probable cause. But
Right.
I would like to know what, seeing this guy, if she does live in a party house, we all know that as well. But what seeing him made her so scared that she locked herself in her room and she was in a frozen shock state, and she locked herself in and didn't call the police for 7.5 hours. Like, what made her scared?
I think maybe she did see the knife.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe he had the
And
knife in
they
his
just
hand.
exactly. And she, they didn't have to put that in the PCA.
Exactly.
They didn't have to. They didn't need to. They only wanted the description because they're not
Yes.
required to put everything in there. Only the bare minimum.
Right.
A lot of people think the PCA is supposed to be the best evidence. It's not. It's only the bare minimum.
Yeah, it's just enough to
So
get
I
what they need
yeah.
for the arrest warrant. So, and I even said that, well, you know, I could understand if this guy is walking towards her and he's dressed the way she said he was, and he had the knife in his hand. And, you know, I'm sure that there possibly had to have been some lights on in the house for her to see the bushy eyebrows. You know, so did he have the knife in his hand, and did she see blood on it? Was there blood on his? Oh shoot! I hit my mic. Was there blood on his hands, and she was able to see that? Like, is that what scared her? If that's the case, that's completely understandable. But even then,
Exactly.
it
That's why I feel
seems
bad for her. I really, really do. I know a lot of people are just going off about her and hating on her. I get that too because it is so confusing. And that's why I
right,
wish that they didn't have to have included her in the PCA, but they had to because they had to
right,
get that description in there. And
right.
that's really probably the only way that they could do it, but it sucks that it's kind of backfired on to Dylan. But I think that,
Right.
you know, like I said in chat, I think once her whole story comes out in trial, I think a lot of people are like, wow, oh my God.
We're gonna be surprised, you know, because I think the $1 million question is,
You know?
why didn't Dylan call 911 when she first saw this guy? Because if she would have, let's just say she saw the knife in this guy's hands, or he had blood on his hands, or he had blood on his face, or something like that, that would have been a reason to call 911. Because then, I mean, if I see a guy at 4 o'clock in the morning walking through my house and I don't know who he is, that's one reason I'm calling 911. But if he has blood on him, then I'm going to know something really bad happened, and I'm for sure going to call.
Well, but you say you would because you're calm right now, but what if you're in shock? I know that I don't talk about this ever, and I hope nobody in here is a doxing type, but I am
No,
a
we
survivor.
don't do that here.
I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and when I had to go to court on my protective order, I was standing in the courtroom and they called my name, and I stood up and I immediately got dizzy. I couldn't remember my name. I couldn't remember anything. The judge was asking me questions, and
Hmm.
I was so in shock over what had happened to me that I won't get into from what my ex did. That,
Hmm.
and this was 3 days later, and I was still in shock over what had happened. When
Hmm.
talking about it, I forgot who I was. I forgot where I was. I couldn't get any words to come out of my mouth. I froze. And they
I hate.
had to have me sit down and calm down, and I went through that like 3 times
Oh wow, I
during
hate to
this
hear that.
hearing. It's really rough when you're thinking about a traumatic event. You can go back into shock a little bit.
But
So,
what?
I'm
But
sorry. I'm sorry, client crime Suthi.
thank
but
you.
but
You
what made her go into shock though? If she just
I
saw
think
the
she
guy
saw that
walking,
knife. I think
I
she saw
mean,
that knife. That's the only thing I can think of that would cause somebody to go into a
I mean,
disassociative
honestly,
state.
that's like the only thing that makes sense. Is she had to have seen the knife or this guy. Like I get, and somebody even said this just a second ago in the chat. Like if he has all black on, it's harder to see blood on it, which that is true.
Yeah,
But what
yeah,
if he would have had blood uh, on his face?
right.
You know,
Exactly.
and she was able, just all she could see was his
Yeah,
eyes
she
and
might
his
have seen
eyebrows.
blood like
Mm,
across the space and saw the
yeah,
knife. Something happened that we just don't know that
right.
caused her to go into shock. And there's
Which,
times now, like even today, it's been many, many years, almost a decade.
mhm,
And to this day, I can't be around the sound of a can opening, the sound of even a pop can,
mhm,
because in my previous marriage, when he would start drinking, I knew the violence was coming. And
right.
so it will trigger that for me even now to
Oh
hear the
wow,
can opening.
I hate
So
to
all
hear
my
that. I'm
pop and
sorry.
everything has to be in like a bottle.
Yeah, I
I
hate to hear
can't.
that.
I even hear that. It's just really weird what trauma will do to your brain. And
Right.
I'll kind of go off into space if I hear a pop can or beer can opening. I can't tolerate it. It
Yeah.
causes me to start shaking and just, oh, it's awful.
It's a
So
trigger.
I sympathize.
Right.
Yes, I totally sympathize with Dylan being a victim. I just don't believe that she had anything to do with it. And it's just so sad that people are attacking her. And
Well,
I just have to speak out for her
well,
on that. I know it's weird. I know people don't get it, I know that we're all looking at the PCA going, what happened? That, oh, she sees a weird guy. So how could that cause her to go into shock? We just
Yeah,
don't
but
know what she
none of us could uh, say what we would do in that position. Like,
Right, exactly.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
If I was a young
When it was
girl,
happening to me that night, the final event that happened to me, calling 911 never crossed my mind. It was somebody else that came and saw what was
Mhm.
happening to me. They called 911.
Oh wow.
It
yeah,
didn't even cross my mind.
like if I was a 19-year-old girl living in a house with like 5 or 6 other girls, and I heard a bunch of noise, and I saw some dude walking by my bedroom door. He, whether he was dressed in black or blue or red or whatever, oh, it's just another dude partying in the house,
Right.
right?
Thank God she didn't talk to him. Right.
Right.
I mean,
Or
we have to
walk
think
up
of
on
that.
him, or walk in on what was happening
Or,
as
you
it
think
was
about
happening.
this too. Think about how lucky she is to be alive. In the PCA, it states if you consider the evidence of what he did and what she did, do you know how lucky she is to be alive? He had to come in, go past her room, go upstairs, do what he did.
Oh, he
Come
had to
back
pass her room like
downstairs.
3 times. He had to
He
pass her
passed her
room.
room 3 times, yes.
Right.
And she opened her door 3 times. How lucky is she that he didn't see her, kill her too?
I'm just wondering if she heard him walking up and down those steps, because the stairs to going up to the 3rd floor was right
Yes,
outside of her bedroom.
yes. And
It,
there was that previous roommate that came out and told his name and everything, said he used to live there, and you could hear people when they would go up and down the
everything.
stairs.
Right. Like no matter where anybody walked in the house and wherever you were at, you always knew where they were walking because of how the house, which is normal for older houses, they creak and they make
Yeah,
noises and everything else.
yeah.
Anthony, how are you? So hopefully though, we'll get to hear if they live stream it, or, one of the media outlets is going to be in there during the court proceedings. They'll let it be known uh, the reason for Dylan being scared, if she saw something in his hands or blood on him or whatever, and the reasoning for her waiting so long to call.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's going to be a known reason. So,
All right.
The thing I was kind of confused about earlier today was apparently I saw it on Twitter that sh- she they were saying like she opened her door several times and hollered out, asking like, telling her roommates to stop making so much noise and this and that, and that um she saw Bryan walk by her and would just thought, oh, it's just some other dude that's over here for a party or something.
yeah. And again, that wouldn't even explain the shock, though, would it?
Yeah, there's got to be, if that's the case, there's got to be some reason for the shock and what scared her so bad. There's
Yeah.
got to be something. Did she actually open her door and walk out of the room and see what was going on, or did she open her door and the guy's walking, which he did walk towards her? That's in the PCA, but like something had to have happened that scared her so bad that she had to lock her door and not call for 7.5 hours.
Yep. Something horrible. I almost don't want to know. I mean, that's going to be hard to hear. I think it's going to be really hard to hear when we do find out.
Right. Yeah,
Awful.
I'm sure during just the June 26th court date, our jaws are probably going to hit the floor several times if we get to
Yeah.
listen to it as it's happening. Uh, yeah, it's going to be, we're probably going to hear a lot of things that we nobody on YouTube or social media, for that matter, uh, has even thought about.
Right, right.
You
Yep.
know?
I bet there's a lot that we have no clue about. Even things that we're just kind of theorizing about now, about him getting fired and how he got fired. And thank
Mhm.
you so much for clearing that up, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome.
But because that's just been bugging the heck out of me. Like, how did they
Yeah,
fire him? How did they meet with
that's
him?
because I
And
mean I
nobody
thought
else
about
thought
that.
of that till you did.
Because when I first heard it, and like it stated, we met up on December the 19th, or December 19th we met, or whatever, however it was, it stated it. And I was like, wait a minute, he was in Pennsylvania on December the 19th, so how did they meet up? And then I was like, well, maybe it was through a Zoom call, or like that was, unless the dude flew out to Pennsylvania, the only other way would have been through a
No,
Zoom
no.
call.
Yeah, that makes total sense. But other channels are saying, oh, it's a fake letter, blah, 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 because he was in PA and,
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
So that's what
people,
was making me thinking that maybe it was fake, until
yeah,
you.
yeah. I
Yeah, so
mean,
there's a lot that we haven't even considered that's going to come out.
right. And people do Zoom calls every day, so it could have,
Mhm.
or it just could have been a phone call and he
True.
worded it that way. But a Zoom call, where you're face to face, even though it's through a screen, would make more sense in the way it was worded than a phone call. Because I believe if it would have been a phone call, he'd have been like, we spoke on the phone on December the 19th.
Right. Yeah, that makes total sense. That clears that up for me. I was just laying in bed wondering about it. I was like, how? What?
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly, like, that's the only thing I can think of would be a
Yeah,
Zoom
I
call.
think you're totally right. I think that makes total sense. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. My cat decided to hit my power button on my computer.
Uh-oh.
I wondered what happened to you.
Yeah, sorry. I just rescued this cat. Apparently, they say that she was 3 years old, but I'm thinking she's more like a year and a half because she's terrorizing my apartment. Yeah, like she has so much energy. But
Yeah, I think sometimes in true crime we need to stop and talk about kittens sometimes.
yes,
Help us feel a little
yes,
better for a minute.
Yeah.
exactly.
So tell us, what does your kitty cat look like?
So she's technically a tabby, whatever a tabby means, but she almost looks like a tiger.
Oh, is she a tortoiseshell?
Well, I mean, she's like gray and black. I don't know.
She might be a tortoiseshell. Oh, those things, they never really grow up. I used to have a tortie. Look up
Really?
tortie cats. Yeah, they are forever kittens. I loved my tortie.
Oh, wait,
Yeah,
would it? Oh, shoot. I just seen a comment. Oh, I gotta find it. Hold on.
They are silly
Ah,
forever. I love torties.
okay. So Banana had a comment. Maybe they locked eyes. Then he placed the knife up to his lips and warned her to be quiet.
Yes,
And,
or maybe
and,
they simply locked eyes. Yeah,
and
something like that,
she
for
knew
sure.
something.
bushy
She knew something was
eyebrows.
up. I still can't get over the bushy eyebrows though. Like,
They locked bushy eyebrows.
I mean, I just, oh my, this hate. I hate that we're told different things, or just like the whole car deal. Like they've been looking for this car, and they basically, before they even asked the public to help with it, they kind of knew where it was coming from or who it belonged to. Like they already had Bryan Kohberger's name before uh, they even asked us to look for this car. I'm wondering if they had us looking for this car just to keep us busy.
Exactly. Yes, and that's what I said way back then. I said that on the Facebook group. I was like, that's what
Mm-hmm.
they're doing. They're having us look for this car, just keep us busy, like when you give your toddler a load of towels to fold
Right.
so you can finish a phone call or something, Yeah.
And I even went back and was looking through my notes because they told us to begin with 2011 to 2013. And then all of a sudden they came out and they're talking about, well, we thought it was that, and then we had to change it to up to a 2016. And I'm going back through my notes and I'm wondering, like, okay, so if they're saying they changed it. Usually if something changes, I go back and I write it down to keep up with it. And I can't find anywhere in my notes where they came out and told us that they were changing it
They
up
never
to a
did.
2016.
No, they never did. I also noticed something. The week of his arrest, they had no updates on the Moscow page. Nothing. No updates for 7 days. And then all of a sudden they uploaded 3 updates on the same day, but they were backdated for that week.
Well, that's
before.
just like the white car that was found in Eugene, Oregon, the white Hyundai Elantra. After that, they never ever brought up anything else about the car. They went, I don't know how many days after that without any updates. And the only update they came out with was that they talked to the lady who owned the car. She lived in Colorado, and for nobody to contact her, and that she had no interest in any properties in Moscow. But then after that, they never explained. Okay, she lives in Colorado, but how did her car end up in Eugene, Oregon, wrecked on the side of the street?
Yeah.
Why was it left there for several days before it was ever towed away? I mean, it was left there to the point that a homeless guy broke in and was sleeping in it. Did she let someone borrow it? Did somebody steal it? Why didn't it have plates on it? Like, I get if she was driving it, she had a wreck, she took the plates off, and they were supposed to tow it that day, but obviously they didn't do that. So they give no more information about that car and never ever asked us again to look for the white Hyundai Elantra. Like,
exactly. Have you thought of this? So the night of the murders, there was that hit and run that was right there at the exit that he would have had to leave and come back, and there was law enforcement there.
mm-hmm.
At that location.
There was a hit and run.
I heard the hit and run was right there at his apartment, like where it happened at, you could see from his apartment. And that there was a girl that had came out that lived in the same apartment complex, but her apartment was across from his, and that she said that if she looked out her front window, she could see where the hit and run happened, and she could also see Bryan Kohberger's apartment. And allegedly,
that close. Yeah,
and
wow.
it was like right there at his house, so he would have had to have passed them, going out past the cops and everything, and then whenever he came back in, allegedly the cops were still there dealing with the hit and run, because it was
that begs the question. I wonder if there's any body cam footage
that's what I was
that
thinking.
they know about that we don't know about.
That's what I was thinking. But
yeah,
it obviously, the way we've been told about things in this case, the hit and run could have been further away from his apartment, and him not even go past the cops.
And exactly what you're saying. Like, we have been told so much conflicting information about this case that I am so worried that, like, when is this trial going to be? Like a year from now?
Yeah, at least.
Probably.
All right, so we've heard so much conflicting information already. Imagine how much conflicting information we're going to hear between now and a year from now. I mean, this dude might get off. I hate to say it, but
they'll have a trial. I mean, even like the Murdaugh trial that's going on right now, the Murdaugh trial.
right.
I've been hearing about that, since it happened, and the trial is just, underway now, finally. But there was a lot that we're hearing in trial that we never heard about before. And I think that's going to be the same thing. There were so many rumors out there.
Yeah.
And I personally don't like this trial at all. I'm watching. It is a hot mess. The state has fumbled so much, but I still think they're going to convict him. He's probably guilty, but it's all pure circumstantial evidence.
And you
I
guys have
hate
seen the videos of, the videos from like outside the crime scene. There's no blinds or
Yeah.
or yeah, and any of the windows, and you can see people walking around with like no booties, and I saw one video that the one lady was sneezing inside the
God.
crime scene. Like, I mean, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah.
I
It's a mess.
I
Law
understand
enforcement
that
messes
law
up more than
enforcement
we
can't be
know.
perfect, but
Yeah,
I
but you like
Yeah, like
where?
in the Murdaugh trial, they have videos of law enforcement walking around in the crime scene, walking through the blood and everything and
Yeah,
checking it around. It's
they
just
didn't.
oh,
really, what are
really?
you
Yeah,
doing?
they didn't wear anything on their feet either, just like they didn't with the Idaho thing.
And
Like
even in
Idaho.
trial, they've had the state prosecutor up there handling evidence without gloves on several times already.
I don't
And the
understand
witnesses
that.
on stand have been looking at them like, what are you doing? But they're doing it anyway. And I'm like, what if you get a hung jury and you have to do this again? You're not
Right.
supposed to be doing that. So yeah, state messes up, law enforcement messes up. That's
And
why there's supposed to be all these rules in place. But nobody follows them.
I understand they can't be perfect, but I guess with the 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 day and age that we live in now, because there's so much social media, everybody has a camera, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so there in any crime scene, there's going to be somebody with a cell phone recording something.
Oh, I guarantee those kids that was in that house that morning took pictures.
Oh, can you imagine if there's? Oh wow. Oh no. Yeah.
Bet you
Yeah.
they took pictures. And what's going to be bad is that they took the pictures and then they turn around and they sell them to a news outlet.
Oh my God, I didn't even think
That
about that.
happened.
You are so dead
Yeah.
on with that. Yep.
That's been going on since the OJ Simpson trial.
There hasn't even been mention of like what was there like there was like a whole group of kids that were there before the police.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, whoever this person is that called 911, if it wasn't Dylan or Bethany that called, because they still haven't said who it was that called, just that the call came from one of the surviving roommates' phone, and it came from inside the house. But they don't mention who it was. So if it was someone other than Dylan and Bethany, how do we know that anybody at that house didn't take pictures of this? And of course, right now they're probably not going to try to sell it. But how do we know they're not going to? And news media's, I don't know if any of them really have morals to that point that they wouldn't, either they would turn down the pictures or they wouldn't show them at all if they did buy them.
With like Princess Diana, that's what they did. What was it?
Mhm.
The Daily Mail or something. Somebody bought those photos of her in the car
and
published them.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if some of those pictures of that crime scene came out in some of the media.
And we also had some unscrupulous YouTubers that were out there. One of them actually bragged on her channel that she was going to use her long lens camera to take photos inside.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Inside
And
the
I know
crime
she
scene?
did. I know she did.
Like,
She hasn't published them yet, but she bragged that she did that. She could see, certain gory details. Yeah.
Yeah, but how is, because
they didn't cover the windows. They left all the blinds open.
Even to Xana's room?
I think it was no, Maddie's room.
Okay, well then they would have had to have been
up behind the house.
Like, yeah, they would have had to have been into like in the backyard in
Yeah.
order to be, even though Maddie's room is right there on the end of the house, in order to see through the window to be able to see anything in her room, they would have had to have been in the backyard, which
Yeah, they said that they went out there late at night with a ladder and their long lens camera and took photos. Yeah.
and Maddie's windows would have been open.
Yeah, that's what they said.
The,
I don't know if
the,
they were lying or not.
you
Of
know
course,
what?
we didn't know
I
if they
could
were
believe
lying,
that. I could believe that because the security guard that we
but
all
yeah, they
kept
weren't in
seeing,
place yet. Remember, it was when Bullhorn and Betty went out there.
well, and the
That was when
security
they
guard,
finally started adding, more police
the
because it was
security
showing
guard's
up.
always out front. We never
Right.
see any pictures of anybody out back, just the
Yeah,
single
sitting out in the
cop
front.
car out front, right in the
Mhm.
Right.
in the parking lot.
Because I know that Kaylee's room, hers was on the third floor and her sliding glass door wasn't covered. But I thought Maddie's window always had a covering over it. All the pictures that I've seen had a covering over it. So how would they have been able to take
don't
pictures
know.
in? Because they would have had to have, if they would have been in the backyard, that's not like her room would not have been ground level at that time in the backyard. They would have, they have a ladder. Like, what did they climb up? A tree or something to take a picture in it?
Who knows? I mean, these people are some of these YouTubers. They would do it.
Oh,
They
yeah.
would, yeah. And a long lens camera. You can take
can-
close-up pictures
can
of the
see a lot.
moon. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
That's
yeah,
crazy.
and I thought that
That's
was so disrespectful
right.
to even say it. Even if they were just making it up for views or whatever. I think they still shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
I'm still shaking from being triggered. It's crazy what trauma will do to you. Can you hear my voice shaking? I can't
Mhm.
even calm myself down.
I just don't understand why
Crazy.
would someone who is not a police department or working for the police or the coroner's office or forensics or whatever, why would anybody outside of someone who would need to be inside the house taking pictures want to be on the outside to take pictures to try to get a picture of a crime scene where 4 kids have just been murdered? That doesn't make any sense.
It's
A
kind
lot of
it's
people were
kind of
murdered.
like the FBI agent that dropped his glove, right? Like
Mhm.
didn't
Mhm.
some dude that like drop his
Chris,
glove
Chris,
from law
Chris,
enforcement?
what was his name?
Chris McDonough
Yeah,
is the one that found it while he was out there.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it ended up to be nothing.
That's
they
the
say.
thing that worries me is like these families deserve justice, right? And
Exactly.
yeah, and if this crime scene is tainted anyway, and I don't know who this lawyer is. Apparently, she's like the best defense lawyer in the state of or in northern Idaho. But
Mhm.
like, it would be a shame if we get like a hung jury just because there's like a couple of minor details that don't add up or you know that Bryan is they can't prove Bryan was there in some kind of way.
Mhm.
Like I don't know. I'm worried that there's been too many mistakes.
Steve Gonsalves slipped in one of his interviews, and he said he let out some evidence that he shouldn't have, and so he told the interviewer that Brian's phone had actually connected not just to the cell towers that were around, but to the actual home's Wi-Fi.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so they're going to use that. I just hope that slipping that out there like that, like you said, doesn't hurt something in the case. But
To
that's
his
going to be proof that he was right there within feet of the home.
All right.
wow.
He was on their Wi-Fi, or his phone was communicating with the Wi-Fi. And that your router keeps a log of that forever.
Oh yeah. That's like if you pull it to a store that's got Wi-Fi, it'll like your phone will pick it up.
Yeah. You know, sometimes you'll be out shopping or whatever and you'll get a you know, hey, what do you think about this, you know, Burger King or whatever that you just passed, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah. I mean, I've been sitting in the grocery store parking lot and I will go because they have the one that we go to, they have Wi-Fi for their customers. And I'll go to connect to their Wi-Fi and there'll be like 40 other Wi-Fis, people's
Yeah.
cars, uh, you know, and all that just right there that's in the parking lot.
Yep. And a log of you being there is there forever.
Right.
Just because your phone communicated, that's what it means. It's pinged. It pinged their Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Not
So
necessarily that it logged into their or connected to their Wi-Fi, just that it picked it up.
yep.
And then he would have had to have physically gone into his phone, connected to their Wi-Fi, um, just like mine. Whenever if I leave home and come back, it automatically connects to it because it's already saved into my phone. So
Right.
if he
No,
at
not
any
with the
point,
Wi-Fi. With the Wi-Fi, like if you have your Wi-Fi on and it says if you have it on automatically connect, it's going to automatically scan constantly for every Wi-Fi. So they
right, but
can actually track
he
his
would have
path
had
using that.
he would have had to have had their password in order to connect to the Wi-Fi. He just um, like I said, if I go just sit in the parking lot at the grocery store, my phone is picking up other people's Wi-Fi's, but I can't connect to them if I don't have their
Exactly.
password. So that's
Right.
what his could have done. It's just he could have
Exactly.
been
That's
close
what
enough
Steve
that
said.
yeah,
That's what
that it,
Steve said, that it didn't connect. It was just pinging it.
yeah,
But that
it was just
meant that
picking
he
it
was
up.
within like 50 feet of the house.
Right.
So he can't explain that
Has it?
unless his defense can come back and prove that he has a good friend, you know, that lives
That,
close by,
yeah.
you know, which
Hmm.
I know I can save this for another night, but I did find a connection between Bryan and a neighbor of his and Enon Harsh.
Oh, really?
Enon Harsh has a friend named Frankie Arnold. You can look him up on YouTube and on
Hmm.
Facebook. He works at NWS, the National Weather Service. If that'll help y'all find which one he is, but he's a really weird looking dude, total incel, and he's friends with Enon Harsh.
Oh,
Early in the case, I had seen that he was friends with Enon, and then soon after, though, Enon removed him from his Facebook and locked everything down. So you can't see that they were friends, but he was on his friends list and he had like commented on stuff.
Hmm.
I know that they're friends. This guy lives on the WSU student campus. So he lives
Okay.
close to Bryan.
So who did you say he worked for?
NWS, National Weather Service.
Okay. So does he go to college at WSU?
He lives on student campus, so you would think he'd have to be, right?
Right. That's what I was wondering.
But he changed his Facebook around a little bit. This Frankie
Okay.
guy did. And Enon erased him from his Facebook.
Hmm. Okay, so this Frankie guy, is he connected to Brian other than just living on the campus?
That's the only thing I could find was just that he lives there at the WSU campus.
and that he's
Okay.
connected to Harsh, right?
Yes. And Enon, as we know, lives right next door.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that could
that's
be the connection that would explain Bryan being over there.
well. Yeah, I always call Enon the creepy neighbor.
Yes. And Enon has been totally silent since January 4th. No
Well,
social media
He's
whatsoever since
probably
then.
scared. I mean,
He's probably state witness.
he's probably scared. Like he starts coming out and voicing his opinions or whatever, and then he's getting attacked on social media. I would like,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
He
if
seemed
he's
to enjoy
innocent.
it though. Oh my God, did you see one of his very last posts that he put up? I screenshotted it.
No, what'd he say?
Horrible. Horrible. I can't even remember the exact wording of it. I'll have to find it again, but it was horrible. I think he said something. It was something about the murder weapon. It was bad.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
wow.
And then his very last Facebook post is still up, and it's 3 sorority girls going at it together.
Oh,
That's still on
yeah,
his
I
Facebook.
remember
Ugh.
seeing it, like, the top part of his was it your Facebook banner or whatever it is at the top?
No, that's the
Uh,
cover image. That's just something
oh,
else.
so it's a different
His
one?
actual post, yeah, if you go look,
Oh,
it's
okay.
3 sorority girls like kissing
Oh,
all
God.
together. And he
Oh,
got a lot
dear.
of flack over that, but he hasn't posted since then. That was his last one.
I know that he had went to San Francisco, and he made a post while he was out there about about a white Hyundai Elantra, and he got a lot
Yes.
of flack
It's
off of that
following me.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like really making jokes. Really, dude.
yeah, and but didn't
But I
somebody
don't
in here
think
last night say that they saw him on uh another YouTube channel like here recently? I thought
really
somebody said,
I didn't know about that.
yeah, because somebody said that he was making his rounds or something like that, and on YouTube. But I didn't get to see it. And I asked what channels, and I don't know if the person had ever answered back in the chat. Uh,
Wow.
What was he
but
saying? Like, what?
I don't know because I didn't get to watch it. They just said that he had been on some YouTube channels, but uh, I mean, the
I'll
dude
do a
is
new
just,
search and see. But yeah, I mean, he's been totally quiet on his Twitter and Instagram and Facebook since January 4th.
oh wow, he's
So
just
I'm
that
wondering if
dude.
he's state's witness if he received a subpoena or something.
He could
And he's
have,
under the gag
Yeah,
order.
gag order. Yeah.
because he did come out and say that he heard a scream at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and when
Hmm.
he was going to sleep and didn't know, at first he thought maybe it was just a, a scream from a party, so he didn't really pay any attention to it. So I don't know. That dude he gives me bad vibes too.
What do you get? And I'm sorry if you guys already talked about this earlier before I joined, but
Hmm.
this News Nation article or thing that came out today with so apparently the roommate that was in the basement that kept opening and closing her door, that was apparently she was yelling upstairs to like stop making so much noise. Did you
I thought
guys
they
see
said that
that?
that was Dylan, didn't they?
Yeah, because see, to begin with, they said it was Bethany that she had from the first floor bedroom. She had hollered upstairs, but now this source is coming out telling News Nation that it was Dylan that did it on the second floor.
Dylan. Okay. So if she kept yelling upstairs to knock off the noise, and then somebody walked by her covered in black with the bushy eyebrows, did she really just literally just be like, "Oh, that's just somebody over here partying. I'm gonna go back in my bedroom." I like it's totally opposite of what we heard like a month ago.
And that's
Oh
why I
yeah,
don't believe it myself. But, some people do.
yeah. I don't know what to believe
I don't know
honestly.
what to believe anymore. Like that, and that's why I was like, I need to call Scarlett tonight and see
Like I
what is going on with this case.
I don't
I think
know.
if it, I
Happy
think if it's
Cactus, you're
somebody
welcome.
is I think if somebody's going to come out and say things like that, they shouldn't do it anonymously. That way people can,
Like
if they're brave
vet
enough to
them.
come out and say something, I know it's going to cause them flack and whatever, but it's really important, to be transparent in,
That's
a
why
case like this.
I'm hoping that News Nation is vetting these sources that they're getting their information from.
Right, right.
America
Something
First, how
tells
are
me they're
you?
not.
I hope they are though. Because
So
But
many
this
you,
is,
people are still mad at Ashley though, over
yeah.
Kara.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're just not going to really believe anything she puts out right now. Who knows? If
Uh,
that is true, I think I said earlier in chat, if that's true, that Dylan or Bethany was yelling upstairs,
Hmm.
they could have, one of them, whoever did it, would have like brought his attention to the fact that, hey, there's more people downstairs that's hearing. I have witnesses downstairs, and
Right.
that's a scary thought too.
But I wonder, because we know that Xana got, she was awake, she was on TikTok and all this and that. So if it is true that Dylan, being on the second floor, hollered out of her bedroom door because she heard noise up, and they're saying she screamed upstairs for him to be quiet. Because, like I said to begin with, they were saying it was Bethany that did it and hollered up at Ethan and them to be quiet. But if it was Dylan and she was on the second floor and she hollered upstairs, when she hollered upstairs, meaning that he would have been on the third floor at this point, and he comes back downstairs because he hears someone hollering. Did he think maybe it was Xana and that's why he attacked
Right.
Xana and Ethan? When in fact
Yeah.
it was Dylan?
Yeah, that's
That
sad, huh?
right. I mean, that could be a possibility if it is true that Dylan hollered out of her bedroom door.
No telling.
I don't know.
Yeah,
There's
like I
just
said, I think she saw the knife. I really do. Just my instincts telling me the only thing that would cause somebody to go into a shock phase like that would be to see something traumatic, not just something a little weird or a stranger, but something actually traumatic that would make you shut down.
because
that's. I'm
go
sorry.
ahead. No, go
No,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, that's why I was kind of like alarmed with that report from News Nation today, because I was like, that according to that report, she literally just thought people were partying, and she looks out her door and sees some dude walking by and is like, "Oh, just another partier. All right, I'm gonna lock my door and go to bed."
Hmm.
And I'm like, why are we getting both ends of the spectrum? Like something doesn't make sense. Like what the first story we hear, somebody is walking by your bedroom door covered with a mask and looking suspicious, and then you're scared and you hide in your bedroom. And then the next story we get is, oh, it's just another dude partying in my house. I'm just gonna go to bed.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Like
saying. Like,
it doesn't make any sense. Like
no. And I don't, some people were saying, well, maybe he threatened her. He could have threatened her and maybe just didn't have enough energy in him to attack her too, or maybe he had this
right.
whole thing methodically planned, down to a certain time to be in the house or whatever. Um, but I just, it seems to me if he just got through killing 4 people, which I do know he probably could have been tired, but he also would have been running on adrenaline. I just don't think that if he would have seen Dylan, that he would have let her go, especially if he knew she saw
Yes.
him.
Yes, I totally agree.
And
Why?
I also thought that maybe he had some sort of like tunnel vision going on, and
Mhm.
he did have visual snow,
Right.
so that could have been interfering with his vision a little bit. It was a little bit dim. She had probably a better view of him than he did of her,
Well,
and
Mhm.
what is his
she
name?
might have thought they locked eyes when they really didn't. You know what I mean?
Hmm. But Crime Circus had actually put out a video, I don't know, like a week or
I
two
like Crime
ago.
Circus.
Yeah, he's really good. But he was talking about the whole visual snow thing, and I guess he had looked into it, and he was talking about that some people have talked about with visual snow how they have black spots in their peripheral vision. Um, and Bryan had talked about in some of his Tappa Talk posts about how his left eye was worse than the right, and so if you have these black spots in your peripheral vision, that's like the outside vision area.
Yeah.
So if he would have had those black spots in that area of his eyes in the left eye, him walking by Dylan, he wouldn't have never
You
seen
wouldn't have
her
seen her. Yeah.
because she was on his left side. So maybe he didn't see her, and she had the
Well,
door open and kind of froze.
this is going to be kind of interesting. Okay, so you know how Bryan talked about taking Topamax,
Uh-huh.
and we don't really know what for. It's given for many things. I take it. I take Topamax, and it's for my micro seizures that I have due to
Mhm.
the head injury that I had from before.
Mhm.
If you have a TBI, you can have micro seizures, and they go throughout my body, not just my head. But when I
Mhm.
first was put on Topamax for that, my dosage went a little too high, and I was having visual snow, and my peripheral vision went away completely. It scared the crap out of me.
Oh wow.
It
So
scared me bad. So
so
they had to
okay.
lower my dose, and it stopped all that. But
So
so
I
if he was
wonder
taking too much Topamax and he didn't report it, or
that
they
could have
didn't know
caused the
that's what
visual
was
snow.
causing it, exactly.
What's
Because it's really
what's
weird when you have visual snow. It's like you're looking through a whole bunch of white and black dots.
Mhm.
But the peripheral vision thing totally makes sense because that happened to me. You will also see what I saw one night that actually prompted me to call the doctor because I was like, okay, I'm not dealing with this anymore. This is scary. I saw the walls like starting to melt in my bedroom when I was trying
Oh
to go to
wow.
sleep.
oh wow.
And it scared me. I thought I was dying. I got up and
That is,
walked around. It actually was just a little slight panic attack, is what the
mhm.
doctor told me.
Sorry to
But
hear that.
that was very strange. But yeah, Topamax can definitely cause all of that as well if you're taking too much.
Maybe I
So
don't know.
yeah,
Maybe that could have been
he could
his
have had a
problem.
head injury as well. It's given for. Uh, they say that it's given for depression as well. I've been hearing that, but I don't think that they would give it for that. It's very off label. They would also give it if he is epileptic. They always give that. It's really good for that. But they also
Yeah.
give it for MS and Parkinson's early onset.
Mhm.
There's no telling what he has medically.
Yeah, it says on here that it's a medication that works in the brain and is sometimes used in patients with bipolar disorder, also known as manic depression. It's been approved for the treatment of seizures or epilepsy, and in adults and children in combination with other anticonvulsants and for preventing migraine headaches in adults.
He
Man,
did complain of migraines, didn't he?
that sounds like something I should take because I have all those symptoms. Like,
It's good, just don't take too much. It'll scare you.
Right.
yeah,
It does say that it's not approved to treat anxiety, but however, the drug may sometimes be used off-label to treat people with certain anxiety disorders, such as OCD.
Hmm.
Yeah. Just trying to see, and I had to scroll
And
through
it
all this to
also
find the
started
side
causing my
effects.
eyes to twitch, I remember.
Oh wow.
When I was trying to read, my eyes would like move. I couldn't
Hmm.
read very smoothly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very potent medication. Cannot
I
take
don't.
too much of it.
I don't know. Maybe that's what was causing his visual snow. Maybe they had, his dosage up too high.
Yeah. He might have been taking too much too
Yeah,
on his own.
MJ's mom in chat said I took it for migraines. It's a horrible drug. Wow, that is
oh
crazy.
wow,
Well, like that mom that recently she pled
Yeah.
not guilty or something. She
Uh.
was taking Seroquel.
Oh,
Oh, I
oh my
hate that
God.
medication. I hate that people
My
are prescribed that.
my son
It's
took that medicine.
awful.
I will tell you right now, he's autistic. That is the worst medicine ever. I
Yeah.
regret even letting them put him on it.
Yeah.
They have wanted to put him on it since then, and I refuse. It is horrible.
really?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
bad.
Yes.
Yeah, people stop putting your young adults and children on Seroquel.
Yes,
It
that
just
is
makes it
that
worse.
is the worst medicine ever.
It causes
Weight gain
frequent,
like crazy.
yes,
Like
and suicidal and homicidal thoughts and actions,
It's
which
a
is exactly what she did.
Is it an antidepressant for?
It's supposed to be, but it'll actually act in reverse in a lot of people.
it's I can tell you, if anybody has a kid or even a teenager or just an adult child they're taking care of and they take them to the doctor for any type of mental illness and a doctor even mentions Seroquel, run. Like
Yeah.
that is
They
that
call it quetiapine.
it's
Starts with a
yeah,
Q. It's
it's an
quetiapine, but
antipsychotic. It is horrible.
it's an SSRI inhibitor, but
Hmm.
it I don't like it. I think they should recall it, honestly. I've heard
Yeah.
of so many horror stories, and you would be surprised how many elderly people are given Seroquel. You'd be
Yeah.
Really?
shocked. Oh yeah,
Really?
It's
Wow.
I promise you,
yeah.
it's a
Check your
horrible.
grandmas and grandpas, people, because they give it
Yeah.
to a lot of Alzheimer's patients at night because it can make them drowsy. But no wonder they're up all night acting crazy,
Yeah, they gave it to
tearing
my
up the rooms and
sister-in-law.
stuff.
My
Because
sister-in-law
yeah,
took it, and when my son was on it, he wasn't on it very long. I want to say 6 months, 7 months. And my son he's very tall. He's like 6'2", but he's very skinny, and it made him like he gained a lot of weight from it. My
yeah,
sister-in-law was also on it, and she gained a lot of weight. Like it's just in it. Like both of them, their moods change. It's a horrible drug. Like horrible, horrible.
Yeah. So you knew right away there was something wrong with that drug.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Carrie, how are you? Yeah, because like I said, my son is autistic. Um, and he has daily routines every single day, and we have to do the daily routine. If he needs to change that routine, he can, but it has to be on his own terms. But he was having issues with other things, and I take him to the doctor. They want to prescribe him this. I looked into it, but I didn't find anything horrible about it that was concerning at the time. But I just noticed little things over time, the weight gain, the mood change. It was almost like he wasn't himself. The daily routine went out the window. If you know anything about people with autism, if they are off of their daily routine, it is like hell on
it's
earth.
traumatic for them.
Yes, it is. It's a complete state of meltdown. Rum runner, have a good night. Uh, there's no calming the meltdown down. Um, and that meltdown can last for just a day, or it could last for several days. And and that all of that started happening after he started taking the Seroquel. Once he got off of it, he went back to his own self. So I knew that it was the Seroquel.
Wow.
It was crazy, and now
Well,
I regret having him put on that.
I hope everything's all right with your son now.
Oh yeah, he's fine. He gets up same time every day. He eats his breakfast, he eats his lunch, he eats his dinner. He's back to his old routine. You know,
Good.
I have a niece who's autistic, and she was nonverbal until
mhm.
she was 7. And my brother-in-law and sister-in-law bought her a piano,
A
and
lot of
just
autistics love music.
she took to it like a fish in
Yes,
water, and
yeah.
she began singing while she was playing, and that helped her become verbal. It was really
That
weird. She just started talking. She started singing and then started talking.
that's
And
funny
now
because
she's in college. She's doing good.
my son
High functioning.
he was nonverbal until he was 4, but he's always liked music, and he hates country music. Like if you just like turn it on, he he hates it. But it was a Garth Brooks song that had came out. I forgot what the name of it is now. When he was 4 years old, and it had just came out, and he started singing it, and I would hear him whispering it, and then it would get
Aw.
louder, and it was in rhythm with it and everything, and that's when he started talking. And now he's like totally into music as long as it's not country music. Like he can tell you any rapper what their album is. Um, any song that comes on a radio or TV or anything. He can tell you who sung it. He can tell you when this album came out. I'm talking back to like in the 80s, 70s, and 80s music.
Nice.
Like
Oh,
he
that's
knows,
so cool.
and I'll ask him like, how do you know that? He said I read it on the internet, and
It's so interesting. Autism is so interesting
Yes.
to me because it's like they are using more of certain parts of their brain than we ever will.
very,
And
very
that's why
smart.
they're so smart in certain
Yes.
areas, you know?
A lot
They're
of
just
people,
geniuses in music, especially,
yeah,
like you said, and
a
memory.
lot of people don't give them credit. They're very, very smart people. That's like any password that I have. He can't be in my room whenever I type in a password because he don't even have to watch what I type. He just has to watch where my fingers land, and then he will know my password.
Wow.
Like
Yes,
he,
that's like, okay, like this, no joke. I know this is off topic, but when you're like live, for example, and you have to
Mhm,
go to another screen and log into something,
mhm.
mute yourself because somebody can hear you typing in your password and they
And know
can
what
tell
you're
what it is
typing.
by hearing
Yeah.
you type it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because each key has a different sound.
Yep.
Yeah. It's weird because like the other day he wanted me to show him something and I was like, well, you got to get out of the room or whatever, and he was like, oh yeah, your password. Like he knew why he had to get out of the room so
I
I could
got
type in
your
the password.
password, mommy.
Because I never
That's
could figure
funny.
out, like, a lot of times I would type in, like, my computer that I work on and that I'm live on now, it has a password to it, and he knows that if I type in that password, he can't be in here. Even if I try to hide where he can't see me, he will still figure it out. It's crazy.
My 10-year-old figured out my cell phone password. You know how she did it?
How's
She
that?
tilted my phone up to the light so you could see where I had my
Oh, your
little pattern.
fingerprints.
Wow.
Never underestimate,
Finger.
never underestimate an autistic person. Seriously, because they're
Or any
super smart.
child, really.
Right? They're super, super
Kids
smart.
are smart.
But like my
Period.
son, my son, he knows, like, he can do anything for himself though. He can cook for himself, washes his own clothes, cleans up after, like, he can do all of that. Everything that any other person at 23 years old can do, he can do. But there's more things to it that he knows. Just like the music thing, like I was talking about. Like I don't even remember half the people from the 80s, and I was born in 80, and he remembers it all, and he was born in 99. It's crazy.
Wow.
In America First, yes, the autistics know numbers and they love music. Like, and that was another thing. We went to the cemetery out here where my husband's family's buried, and my husband, like, literally all the way back to like 5 or 6 generations of great grandparents are out there. And he goes through and he looks at every one of them, and to this day, you can ask him who died when, and he'll tell you what year they died.
Wow.
And
So
I'm
he's
just
kind of got
like,
a photographic memory.
yes,
That's amazing.
yeah, he remembers each date. And like I said, these are 5th and 6th generation grandparents to my husband. Um,
Wow.
and he can tell you when every one of them died, what year it was.
I'm
It's
so
weird.
sorry. I
Smart.
didn't mean to get us so far off topic. I'm
No,
sorry.
you're
Smart.
fine. Because I mean, a lot of people said that maybe Brian was on the spectrum. You know, uh, I don't know if he's ever been diagnosed with any part of the spectrum as far as autism or Asperger's or anything like that, but he very well could be on the
I don't
spectrum
think so.
too.
He's not that
There's a good
smart.
chance. Yeah.
He seems to be kind of a dumb criminal, if you ask me.
Oh
If
yeah,
he's the guilty party, he's not that smart.
yeah,
He's
he's a
very
very
Leaving
dumb
the
guy.
smart.
keys and letting
Yeah,
all the things that he did with his phone, all those mistakes. Doesn't
yeah,
I don't
that's what
know. It
didn't
doesn't.
make sense because if he's studying this, so he knows about the data forensic part of it. Like, why would you take your phone
Yeah,
and
you'd think he would just leave his phone there.
right, especially only being, what is it, 7 miles away from his house? Why
You
would
know
you
what I
take your
thought too?
phone?
I had a theory. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind hearing it.
Sure, go ahead.
Speaking of Bryan and that night, who agrees with me that Bryan is the one who actually ordered the DoorDash. I really think that he did, because I'll tell you why. The cutoff for orders was 2:45 p.m.
Right.
His phone was turned off at 2:48 or 2:47 or 2:48. That's what they said in the
So,
PCA.
yes, somewhere around there.
And he went straight to their home. From there, he left the area, and he just kind of like circled the area, a few times. The order didn't arrive until 4. He didn't realize in his planning, I don't think, that it was going to take that long for the order to get there, that it was a game night,
Right.
and he just had to wait longer. So he kept having to like circle the area, circle the block, keep going around. And he was probably getting frustrated, I think, in waiting for so long. And I think he was using the DoorDash as a way to get somebody to come to the front door so he could go in the back. That's been my train of thought on it.
Is it possible that that's the second person that we all been wondering there was a second person involved? Like
the DoorDash?
DoorDash?
Yeah, like, I mean,
I don't think the DoorDash person had any clue.
No, I mean, do you think there's a second person involved with Bryan?
I think there was somebody else driving the car that night.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so that car, like, made like what, 3 circles around that little area?
4 total, but the last one was at between 4:04. Well, it got there on the last time at 4:04. It did all the little turnarounds, and then at 4:20 it left out for the last time. But it's kind of funny though.
On Queen. So that still would have been, like I did that math and walked up the street, on Google Earth. And I was like, even if they parked at 4:04, even if he parked himself and got out of his car at 4:04, it still wouldn't have been until 4:06, 4:07 before he got in the house.
Exactly.
And then they said the car drove away at 4:20.
So it would take at least that amount of time, if not
13
maybe
minutes.
Yeah. But it seems funny though that the car circles 3 times and then it's gone until the DoorDash comes, and then once DoorDash left, then the car comes back at 4:04. But yeah, the DoorDash dude that did the delivery, he actually went in and talked to the police and all that, and told them that he delivered the food there that night and everything.
So he's not connected. Like,
yeah, I don't think he had any clue.
No.
Now, whether somebody else ordered the DoorDash or whatever, that could be possible, unless they have proved that the order did come from Xana's phone. But I don't think the DoorDash dude.
Say. Isn't that interesting that the PCA only says that she received
it? Yeah.
It doesn't say that she ordered it.
Yeah. So I don't think the DoorDash guy had anything to do with it. I just think that, there was food ordered and he was just doing his job and delivered it. I just think that it's kind of funny. Like I said, the car's passing 3 times between 3:29 and 4:04, which was the last time that it comes in the circles, but it just happened to not be there whenever DoorDash came through. And it was almost like they were, if they knew about the DoorDash going to be delivered, were they all sitting somewhere watching for it to be delivered, or did they just happen to get lucky enough to not be on that street when it was delivered? Therefore, the DoorDash driver wouldn't have seen the car.
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah, and wasn't so they tracked his phone. How many times did he apparently pass in that neighborhood?
12
times. So if he had been to that area 12 different times, why would he be circling around 4 or 5 times?
That's what I was saying last night.
Sense. Yeah.
It's almost like
circling around waiting for the DoorDash. But do you think it was maybe somebody else driving the car, waiting for him?
Because the PCA says So it starting at 3:29 is the first time they see it, the car come in. And then it says on that 404 one, when it comes in at 404, it goes up to 500 Queen Avenue or Queen Road, which is the apartments that creepy neighbor lives in next door to the house. Then it turns around and it comes back down Queen Road. It tries to turn around in front of the house, but it also tries to park in front of the house, and it's unsuccessful. So it goes down to the corner of Queen Road and King Road, does a 3-point turnaround, and then comes back up for the last time towards the house, and then it doesn't come back out until 420. So it's almost like if he's been in that area 12 times, if I go somewhere 12 times, I'm going to know that area. I'm going to know where I can turn around, where I can park, and all that. It's almost like this person that was driving the car didn't really know where to park or where the right place to park was, how to turn around in the driveway, especially if it's dark out in the front of the house, which on the body cam footage from September the 1st, the cops are walking up to the house and there's no outside lights on the street. And the girls were walking from the house and the cops had to shine their flashlight on them before they walked up to the house. So it was dark out there. So it almost seems like the person that was driving that car didn't really know where to
Where they were
park.
going. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what it seems like. And
So
like I said,
Bryan didn't tell him. You would think that, like, if Bryan had been over there and like planned it, wouldn't he have planned where to park, or where to tell the person to park? Because right there along that road, right next to the house, all the way up to that parking, was like totally dark.
right.
It would have been the perfect place to just stop and turn off their lights. So
Unless he told
so
them,
you're right. Like, why did they just keep circling?
right. Unless he told them to drop him off and then come back and pick him up. And maybe he told them to be back in, like, let's just say they drop him off at 3:29 when he's first seen. And he says, hey, be back in like 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes.
That the DoorDash didn't get there on time.
Right. And so, and I don't think it says in the PCA that every time that it's seen the car, all three other, well, it would have been other two times. So 3:29, and then there would have been two other times, and then the 4:09 or 4:04. So whoever it was just could have been coming back to see if he was ready to be picked up, and he wasn't there, and then they would leave and then come back. But I don't understand why park at 4:04.
And I may be incorrect, but is there any evidence of the car being seen behind the house?
No, because
No, there was no cameras back there.
yeah, there's no cameras, and the house that the camera was on that picked up the sounds, and I do believe it's the one that picked the car up to, was on that blue house next door to the girl's house.
Because they're pretty certain that he came in through the back
Through the
of the
back
house.
door.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the camera it's at the blue house that picked the sounds up, it was more than likely probably picked the front door up as well. And so that's how they knew he didn't go through the front door.
Okay.
But I'm wondering though, like I said, he studies this kind of thing. He knows about the digital forensic part of it. Did he need his cell phone for some reason, like to get in touch with someone? Like, what would be, because if you're going to commit a murder,
Maybe the DoorDash order.
can you track those?
Oh yeah. Anytime you make a
Okay.
DoorDash order, it starts tracking it immediately.
Okay.
Yeah.
I live in a sticks. We don't get DoorDash out here, so I don't know
You can
how that
order
works.
DoorDash for somebody else and still track it as well.
So
Because I order that for my kids all the time.
well,
Yeah,
maybe
actually,
it'll come out. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I order DoorDash where I'm at. I'm kind of like in a city area, and they're actually kind of annoying because like
Well,
you place the order, they give you a confirmation. The driver picks up your order, another confirmation. The driver's on their way. The driver drops off your DoorDash order. They send you a picture like Amazon on the phone.
oh well.
Yeah, they're like overboard with the delivery, even more than Amazon is.
And it actually shows the delivery person on a map as
No,
they're coming towards you.
No, they take a picture of the food on
Yeah,
your.
and that's the last step. Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah,
So yeah,
like I
you know
said,
all the way through the whole process. And I'm wondering
Mhm.
if maybe if he made that order and then headed over there thinking that the order would be there by, 3:30. And that's why he
But
got there at 3:30.
okay, so more than likely he would, if he was the one that ordered it, he wouldn't have ordered with a credit card. So would he more probably used like a hey Tracy, how are you? A gift card or
Uh-huh.
something like
Yeah.
that. So then that way it couldn't be,
Couldn't
you
be
know,
traced.
yeah,
Yeah.
buy the gift card with cash, use the gift card to place the order, and then that way it can't be traced back to who ordered it. I don't know. Maybe he did it. The DoorDash order. I don't know.
I just
I
think it's
don't.
really weird that the order cutoff was 2:45 and then his phone was turned off until it was turned back on in the area. So I think he
Mhm.
was probably tracking it, waiting for it to arrive.
Yeah. Because
Like you said, maybe sitting in the dark out there watching his phone.
Waiting for it. Yeah.
and isn't it eerie how close the time frame is between apparent when the DoorDash order apparently got there and Xana got the order, went down, got the order, walked up into the kitchen, opened the bag, went into her room, and then within minutes, Bryan's walking through the back door.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I think he came in. I think he came in the back door when she was at the front door. I think that's what happened. That was
Okay.
his
So
cover.
if the delivery was done at 4 o'clock, but the car was seen the last time coming towards the girl's house at 4:04, then that would have meant that somebody would have had to have dropped him off.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And he did ask, was anybody else arrested?
Yep.
Right.
Oh, that's terrifying.
That's what's scaring me with this case, man. Like,
So there
I don't,
could still be somebody else
Somebody
out
else
there.
out there.
there's
Yeah.
it just seems like there's too many holes. I mean, I'm no crime expert or anything, but what?
Hey, I have an honorary degree because I have seen every episode ever made at least twice of Law and Order.
All right, well, you're the expert then. Come on, give it to us.
I don't know. There's
No, I
just
have no idea either.
there's just a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot.
Really, there's not.
It's
It,
it's fun to theorize. I mean, using fun
right.
I hate to use that word. Crime sleuths. We that's
And
our thing. We like
can
to discuss cases and all that. But
can I?
yeah.
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
can I
Go
throw a
ahead.
curveball in there? So Scarlett, you posted that picture of what's her name a couple of days ago of Gabby.
Yes.
Oh,
So
horrible.
so what I was wondering, so the when the cops pulled them over or
Hmm.
got the call, um, is that did her face look like that? Like,
Yeah.
are you
I
serious? Like the
yeah.
cops didn't think something was going on? Like she looks abused.
I think she had wiped most of the blood off of her face, but the cops, she did show them the cut on her cheek or the scratch on her cheek. But the cop in the body cam footage does mention something about blood on her forehead, and maybe she just didn't know that it was up there. Um, but yeah, I mean, even when they got pulled over and the cop was walking up to her side of the van, she did the hand signal that every woman that should know,
Oh,
just in case they're in a situation like that and they're with that person, they can give the hand signal to someone who also knows to know to call for help. Gabby gave the hand signal, like you can see it on the body cam footage, and the cop didn't even catch it.
wow.
Like
Oh, that
it's
poor girl.
as soon as the cop walked up there, she does it, and he doesn't catch it.
I don't even know what the hand signal is. What is it?
Is if you hold your hand up, all your fingers extended out, you place your thumb across your finger like you're doing the number 4, and then you take your other 4 fingers and you bring them down over your thumb.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know about
And
that.
and that's the signal. If you see somebody give that, like a female give that signal, you know that they're in a situation that they need help.
Okay.
And you can see her
I
when
don't know how
it,
I
it
didn't know
almost
that.
it looks like she's waving at the cop, but you can see when she does her hand and she does the signal, and the cop didn't even catch it.
I
Yeah.
know that the attorneys who released that photo said that that photo was on her phone
Mm-hmm.
and it was time stamped before the Moab stop.
Oh
I
my
wish
Yeah.
that she
goodness.
would have shown the police that photo
All right.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
because I guess he made her clean up. He probably made her clean her face.
Yeah. And I hate when like I've seen it on different news stations, how they will use the picture of her and Bryan together, like on their thumbnail or just in their story, and it makes me sick to know that what he did to her, that he admitted to doing to her, like he wrote it all in his book before he allegedly unalived himself, and people will still use a picture of the two of them together. And
Yep.
it's just like use a picture of her by herself, not.
That's how abusers will trick people. When people found out about what happened to me,
Mhm.
they didn't believe it. They were like, "What, him? He
Oh
was
yeah,
super, super
he
shy, super quiet with everybody else. He was not
yeah.
like that with me at home.
Brian Brian made
He
these
had everybody
cops.
fooled."
Brian made these cops think that he was the victim, and that Gabby was
Yep.
the abuser, um, because he had marks on him, and she admitted to slapping him, or hitting or whatever it was she did, and so they took him to a hotel and told them to stay the night. Now, I've said this before, and some may agree or some may not agree, but she needed out of the situation. If the cops would have done their job that night or that afternoon, and if they're going to say that Gabby was the abuser and Bryan was the victim, why not arrest her and
Right.
charge her with abuse or whatever it is in the state of Utah? She would have then had to have called her dad or her mom to bail her out, and because there would have been a restraining order at that point where they couldn't have been around each other. Um, so she would have had to call her mom or her dad to come get her out of jail and pick her up. She would have then went back home with one of them. She would not have been able to talk to Bryan whatsoever because of the restraining order. And yeah, she would have had a charge on her and she would have had to go to court for it. But she could have showed her attorney, and that attorney could have fought it and got that charge dropped. And
Exactly,
if
with that photo. Hmm.
exactly, and if that would have happened, she wouldn't have died 2 weeks later. She would have still been alive. And I know that, that's some people may not agree with that because she would have gotten that charge, but would you rather get a charge like that and still be alive?
Police will often just they'll threaten both parties. They'll say, one of you guys have to leave, or somebody's getting arrested, maybe even both of you. They'll threaten both parties
Yeah.
because they don't want to do paperwork. They don't want to arrest somebody. They just want to quiet things down and go on. They don't want to actually do anything.
So they literally thought if we just separate them for the night, the problem's going to go away.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But
Yep.
see, the thing
Been there
is,
too.
Gabby didn't like driving the van, especially by herself. She even told him that. So more than likely, they took Bryan to the hotel. He didn't stay in that hotel that night. He called her on the phone and told her where he was at, and she went and picked him up
Yep.
because she didn't want to stay by herself in the van.
Poor girl.
Yeah. And it just, like I said, it just makes me sick
I
to
just
see
I couldn't
pictures
I
of
believe.
them
hear
together.
you.
Yeah,
I hear you
when you
about the
posted that
social
picture.
media. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I just when she posted that picture on Twitter the other day, I was just like, it was just so disturbing.
Like you could see her holding the tears back in that picture. Like she wanted to cry her eyes out, but you could see it was
Yeah.
almost like she knew if she cried, it would upset him and make him mad. And so she was fighting the tears back when she took the picture.
Yeah,
You
and
can
Yeah,
you
she was
see
like
it on her
taking the
face.
blame. She was like, "Oh,
Right.
I'm the one that hit him first." Yeah.
Yeah. You could just see it in her face.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a really hard one for me to watch. But and I know about all their happy photos, you know.
Yes, I hate
You,
seeing them
you don't
together.
even know what she probably either just went through or was going to go through. The abusers will make you post happy photos
Mm-hmm.
to further their lie, and so that it actually hurts you in the long run, because if you've got all these wonderful happy photos on your social media together with this person, who's going to believe you that they're abusing you?
Yeah,
It
and
actually serves their purpose. I
what
went through that.
and I'm not, obviously I'm not a, a woman that's been abused or anything, but like, so like when what they were saying with Gabby is she was almost kind of protecting him,
Oh
Yeah.
like
yeah.
almost like I I'm no expert, but they were saying that like a lot of women that got abused or women that are abused will often protect their
Oh
spouses or their boyfriends
yeah. Yep.
for I
Yeah.
don't know.
Because they have isolated you. You don't go on a date with somebody and they start beating you. It starts very small and grows like mold. It takes a while. It took 3 years or more in my case. It starts very small, and then they start to isolate you and alienate everybody else. He had me pretty isolated and stuck and dependent on him, crushed my self esteem. They have all different mechanisms that they use. They
It's
get you in just the right position before they start actually hitting you
it's
to where
it's
you're stuck.
a controlling part of it.
Yeah, it's a hell. And it took me 5 years to get out. Five
I'm
whole
Wow.
sorry.
years.
I'm sorry you went through that.
Yes, that
It
is
was
sad.
awful. It was awful. But man, you sure learn a lot going through something like that. And I don't know. I just, man, I feel
Don't
so
talk
bad for
about
Gabby.
but don't talk about though anything that you're not comfortable with talking about, okay?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm good now. I'm married to a wonderful man now.
Well, that's
But
good.
no, he didn't dare raise his voice at me. It teaches you to be very strong in the
Mhm.
future and to not put up with any BS ever again in your whole life.
Yeah. I'm sorry. If some man raises his voice at me, he's gonna get a voice raised right back.
Yeah,
I
I remembered that that's how it started with me. And
mhm.
you teach somebody how to treat you, and you
Yeah.
can't unteach it later. So I learned, boundaries, and it
Okay.
took me a couple of years to, heal and get back my self-esteem and all that
Right.
before I met my husband. And I was so picky, and I was flat and mean to guys before I met him. I was mad when I first started dating again.
That's
But
understandable.
yeah, but he had to break down those barriers and all that stuff with me. And, you know, no, I don't put up with anything at all, period. But,
Yeah. The
and
way I
he's
see it,
very, and I'm lucky because he's very gentle,
mhm.
and he also doesn't believe in yelling, thank God. So I
Well,
can't handle that.
the way I see it, and I even told my daughter this when she was growing up. If your daddy and your brothers, which in my case, my daddy, my two sons, and my husband don't raise their voice at me, ain't no other man on this earth gonna raise their voice at me and get away with it, or put their hands on me, or I got a big mouth and a bad attitude.
Well, I was raised the
You
same
go,
way
girl.
too. I was raised the same way too, and it was kind of weird because I've always, I mean, us redheads, we're known for having fiery temper, and we're
Mhm.
very vocal and all that. I don't know how I got in the mess I got into because I wasn't like that. I wasn't raised like that. My first marriage was not like that. I had a very long, good marriage, and
Mhm.
it was the second marriage that was bad.
Yeah. Well,
This is my third and final.
at least you got a good husband though now.
Yeah, 7 years strong
Oh wow.
next week. So,
Congratulations.
but yeah, it'll teach you a lot. And I mean, that's just like the last thing I thought I would ever be caught up in because I'm like you. Nobody's gonna raise their voice to me. Well, when they first started, they're so smooth and slick. You
Mhm.
don't even know that's happening
Right.
until it's gone a little too far.
Yeah, my ex wasn't smooth and slick at all. She was very fiery, and I mean, I was married for 16 years, and sorry, my cat keeps jumping on me. She was, I was like the calm, cool, collected part of the relationship,
Mhm.
and she was the the troublemaker. It,
Yeah.
she was the fiery one, and there's a balance, but
Oh yeah. Yeah, my husband now, he's pretty quiet guy, and I'm a little more
yeah,
boisterous than he is, but for sure. But
but yeah, like
I'm pretty much gotten back to me. You know what I mean? To the real me.
yeah,
It's
Yeah.
taken years to be okay with just being me again. It will hurt you for life to go through something like that. But yeah, like I was beginning to say at the very beginning, trauma can really throw you for a loop for hours, for days. It can affect you years later. That's why I have to feel for Dylan, and I give her
yeah,
the benefit of the doubt. I just do
yep,
because I just know there's some horrific details that we'll learn in trial that
Yeah.
will all feel horrible for her. Then I don't think for a second that she's involved or anything. I think she's extremely lucky to be alive, period. So,
Yeah. I mean, because he very well could have seen her and attacked her.
yeah. And I
You
mean,
know.
I think that us YouTubers should be, there's so many bad ones. I think that, good YouTubers like yourself,
Mhm.
I try to be, but we should be a good steward of that,
yeah, totally,
because, their families are watching these channels. They do watch. And
Yes.
I would just never want for, Dylan's family in particular or anybody's family to
Yeah.
hear me saying horrible things about them.
That's why I don't put up if somebody comes into my chat and just they don't even get a warning if they say anything bad about the victims or the victims' families. They're automatically blocked because I do know one of the victims' families has watched the channel before, and I'm not going to put up with that. Like these families have been through enough, and like they don't need to come on any type of social media platform and see someone talking bad about their kids or them or anything else.
Yeah. I think there should be some safe channels that they can go to,
Right.
and because they're interested in the case as well, like the Gonzalez family.
Hmm.
It, what is her name? The girl starts with an A. Kaylee's sister.
Oh, Olivia.
Yes, Olivia.
Hmm.
She's a true crime buff as well, and I know
Right.
she said she goes around watching channels.
apparently
You
Yeah.
know,
Kaylee was too, right?
yeah.
Wasn't
Yeah. Yep.
Kaylee? Yeah,
So what if you're doing a live one night and Kaylee's in your chat, right? I mean, not
Right.
Kaylee,
Olivia.
Olivia. Sorry,
Yeah.
she comes into your chat, and she's just watching and she's hearing how supportive and respectful you are. That could that could lead to her reaching out to your community for support and being a
Right.
part of it, like Brandy Neal has done, for example, with that other channel.
Yep.
You know, she trusts
So,
them. They're not going to, you know, talk bad about her or little Michael.
yeah, that's another sad case too.
Yeah, horrible. But yeah, I think we should be good stewards so they can see that there are people out here who are good.
And I agree in that. I think that's why we gravitate towards Scarlett's channel because,
For sure.
yeah, because
It's
nobody.
best that you go live like really during the week. I usually go to bed about 10:30, and that's my time local. And that's usually when you go live, and I'm like, dang it, I have to go to bed.
Me too. I
Yeah,
try
So
to
I usually
stay
watch
up.
you the day after the replay.
yeah. It's usually 10:30 my time whenever I go live. Sometimes I have to push it back to 11, but I'm so busy during the day, and then
Yeah.
I'm live for like going 4 hours, sometimes 5 hours a night, and then if I have emails I got to check or I need to discuss something with the mods, that puts
Yeah,
another
research
hour
all
of
that. Yep.
right, or I got to take a shower after the live or even eat because I haven't even ate tonight, y'all, while I've been live, surprisingly. So, I may not go to sleep till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And then if I don't get sleep, I'm very grouchy. So I may not wake up till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, in the afternoon. And then as soon as I'm up, I'm like looking into stuff.
Yeah.
I need more hours in the day. Like 24 hours is not enough.
I know, right? I
Well,
haven't
Yeah.
even gone live or done anything really lately. I've been too busy with my real life, but I watch, all
Yeah.
my favorite channels. I only get to watch you the day after. I don't get to really be in the lives very much.
yeah, me
Well,
too.
thank you for joining us. Yeah.
Yeah,
Usually,
I watch every day. I'm just never like live.
I'm East Coast. I'm East Coast time, so you like
yeah, you
usually
would be an hour ahead of me then.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like a lot of times I'm like, all right, great, the channel's starting, and then like 30 minutes later I'm like,
Exactly.
not because there's anything boring about the channel. I'm just
Oh, it's so late.
it's late
I've
for
totally
me, and
done
I
that.
get up early.
I
Yeah.
do that. I'll turn on a live sometimes and go to sleep listening to it. And Scarlett, you have a voice that's just really pleasant. Like you need to read books or something for a living.
Yes.
I know a lot of people has told me that I need to do a
You know, you make good
YouTube
money
channel
at
just
that.
reading.
When my
Yeah, but
husband was going for his master's degree, he did that for a side gig. You can do
oh
that. You
really?
make really good money at it.
Oh wow.
And he was making like 300 per session. That's per day
Oh my
doing
gosh.
audio, just reading audiobooks.
Yeah, but
It's very
I read enough now though.
yeah, but like 300 bucks a day, that's not bad.
Yeah, that is true. That is good money. But I'd rather do, the missing people cases and
You can read true
cases like
crime
that.
books. I could totally hear you reading a true crime book,
Yeah.
on audiobook. I think it'd be cool.
I could hear you being like, Clarice, come over. Like I'll
Yeah,
fall
do the
asleep to
line.
that.
Do the line, Scarlett. Let's hear it.
Yeah,
Hello, Clarice.
I may look into it. I don't know. I like doing the whole
It's
true
fun.
crime.
He turned our walk-in closet into he bought those things that you put on your bed for extra cushion,
Mhm.
whatever they're called. He put those all over our closet and made that his little studio.
I had
And he'd
actually
go
thought
in there
about
for a couple
that.
hours.
I had thought about doing that because we have a big walk-in closet here, turning like the whole closet into a. I actually got the idea from like Widow Baby about turning the closet into like a little office studio
A
type
lot
thing.
of people do that. Yes,
Yeah,
a lot of YouTubers do that.
yeah. I thought about doing that.
Talk about good acoustics. But yeah, he was in there. He worked his full-time job and everything, and then he'd go into the closet and do his audiobook stuff. And I think
Mhm.
he was only in there for like 2 hours, and he made like 300 bucks. So
Oh
he's got a
wow.
really good voice too.
That's interesting.
I don't have that kind of voice, but Certainly, you don't ever want to hear me sing, for sure.
Yeah, I don't sing either.
I don't either, but I think if I did learn how to sing, I probably sound like Barry White. I don't know. I guess I got the deep voice.
No, I'm a little too nasally. I couldn't read audiobooks. I hate my voice. But
Well, I'm gonna drop off, guys. But good talking to you guys.
All right. Well, thanks for coming up
you
and hanging out
too.
with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh,
Appreciate
you're
it.
welcome. All right. No problem. Have a good night.
All right, have a good weekend, guys.
All right. You too.
All right, bye.
Bye. I can drop down too if anybody else wanted to come on up here with you or whatever
I'm
you want.
probably fixing to end it here in just a minute. It's already
All
after
right. Well,
2
thank you
o'clock.
so much for having me up.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for coming up.
No problem. Yeah, it's great to talk with you. It's just like so weird because I hear you every day in the morning, but I've
Well,
never actually gotten to chat with you. So.
Well, anytime you're in the chat, you're able to make it to a live and you want to come up on panel, just let me know. And
All right.
I
Well, you guys
will go ahead.
usually Fridays or Saturdays are my only times that I could be like here live.
Okay. So yeah, anytime you want to come up, just let me know and I'll throw the link out for you.
All righty. Have a good night. Thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.
All right, y'all. So I'm probably going to end it here for the night. Hold on one second. Oh, wait. Hold on just a second, y'all. Okay, y'all. Sorry about that. Charles sent me a text message and I didn't understand it. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end it for tonight. If y'all don't mind, hit the like button on your way out if you haven't done so already. If for everybody who, it says 256 people are watching right now. I don't think we have that many in chat. If you're not subscribed, please sub up. We would love to have you in chat or up on panel with us. I will be back tomorrow night, my usual time, 10:30 Central. So I just want to thank you all for coming and hanging out. I love you all. I hope you all have a wonderful night, a wonderful weekend. Hopefully I'll get to see y'all or talk to y'all tomorrow night. So yeah. Thank you to Philly and to Crime Sleuthin who come up on panel as well. Thank y'all for coming and hanging out. Crime Sleuthin, you have a good night. White Widow Baby, you have a good night too. So I've got to go catch up on some emails. Sinful Butterfly, I'm about to check your email out that you sent. So I love you all. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see y'all tomorrow.